Okay, we're live, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the REMINGTOM podcast. Here again, another NFL week, week 15 of the NFL season. And make no mistake, the late window is hot right now, people. The late window is cooking. I mean, we've got Super Bowl potential matchups all over the place right now. Obviously, Bills Lions is leading the way. Those are the two primetime teams for the day. Oh, speaking of primetime main card fights, we've got Brian Branch locked up with the receiver right now. Oh, I think it's just words. I don't think it's gonna. Yeah, they're separating. It's a big game. They're not gonna get fight. I don't think anybody wants to get thrown out of this one. But Bills Lions potential Super Bowl preview. We've got Steelers Eagles. Is that like a trendy if you're really watching the games? Are you picking those teams? Both those teams are kind of heating up as of late. There's some balance to both of those teams. And, for the Eagles, the Lions and their conference are currently down right now. So maybe their case is going up a little bit. And for the Steelers, we saw Mahomes get hurt in that game against the Browns earlier as well. So, the Bills look good, of course, as they're the ones beating the Lions. But maybe the Steelers' case helps if if Mahomes is hurt, I'm sure that helps everybody's case. So it definitely helps the Steelers' case. But I don't think it seemed like it was too long-term serious. But is that like a low-key, trendy Super Bowl preview? And then, Bucks-Chargers, people. I mean, how far away are we from a Bucks-Chargers Super Bowl? I mean, both of those teams will be in the playoffs. Again, we want to talk about balance. There's some veterans. Herbert's one of the better quarterbacks in the league. He's cooking right now. He's having a really good day today. Harbaugh, we know that team's going to be locked in. So, I mean, that's not the craziest Super Bowl outcome, I think, potential. I mean, we've also got Patriots Cardinals. So, it's definitely somewhere. I think Bucks Chargers is it's closer in Super Bowl odds to Bills Lions than it is to Cardinals Patriots. Does that mean I'm saying it's more likely than not? I don't know. Those are two, like I'm saying, two quality teams, two playoff teams that could at least cause some trouble. I don't know. Is that a potential two teams that could be in the conference championship of their respective conferences games preview? I don't know if that's a thing that we chart out in the season schedule, but that is a good cross conference matchup against a couple of playoff teams. And then I don't know if the NFL is thinking of expanding, maybe realignment. Colts Broncos, that could become a Super Bowl matchup. But it is also, I mean, Super Bowl matchups are weird in the regular season because they do mean something, but because they're cross conference, it doesn't really maybe for the playoff picture, it's not as like Broncos Colts is maybe the most impactful playoff game going right now. I guess Eagles could clinch the division with a win against the Steelers, and they're definitely on pace to do it right now. It's 17-3, but I mean, they're a couple wins up anyways, and it seems like they're on pace to do that. So, and I guess, even if they didn't, is an potential elimination game mean more than a potential division clincher? I think it does by just a little bit because somebody's season could be over. And I guess I don't know if mathematically either of these teams are out by any means if they lose, especially if the Broncos lose, of course. They just dropped to 8-6. But I think if the Colts lose as well, the Texans win the AFC South officially today. So, we want to postpone that as long as possible. So I guess we want to keep these playoff hopes alive. We don't want to keep the Texans' hopes alive in any kind of way. And I guess, they're going to have hope regardless. They have CJ Stroud. But at least if we can postpone the division T-shirts, then maybe that'll mean something. But Richardson came out firing on the first drive. Richardson looked confident. He was hitting guys down the field and then turning the corner on a run, getting into the end zone for a touchdown. And he is now 4 for 14 in the first half. They've just hit they're about to hit the 2-minute warning, I think, in that game. But they do have the lead. It's 10-7. So make no mistake, people, if we've learned anything about the Anthony Richardson experience, I mean, it's definitely forming. And if it wasn't if we didn't see the pattern recognition forming in the first couple of games, like he's definitely perfecting his craft of sloppy play and maybe not the highest stat lines, but make no mistake, in the fourth quarter, last drive, the man's been clutch. The man's gotten down the field. He's gotten some wins. So, what was the last game like against the Patriots? It's maybe not the standard you want to compare yourself to, but if they're able to be in a similar situation this week against the Broncos, I mean, that just will continue to prove his case going into next year, because, I mean, he's set for this year, and I think, the Colts aren't going to make a move at quarterback in the offseason. Like, Richardson is going to go into the 2025 season as the Colts quarterback, but I guess the confidence of that, and then what would his odds be of making it through the season? Because I guess year 3, year 2.5, whatever, like people would just really start to get antsy, and jobs would really start to get, people would really start to get sweaty as well too. So I think, maybe changes would be made if the Richardson stats didn't get any better, and all of a sudden, the team started to maybe not pull out some of these wins. Maybe if a quality opponent affects that, but this is a good game. Again, it keeps them in the playoff hopes. And the Broncos are, like, we're at the point in the season now where there are kind of tiers. Like, the Broncos are 2 wins better than the Colts, and I don't know if that's, a ton separating the teams. But, I think the defense and offense, the consistency that the Broncos have played with this year has definitely been a lot higher than the Colts, and we've seen that offense as well, too. Again, they've played at a higher level more consistently. They've been at 30 points a game for a couple. Have they been at 30 points, or has Bo Nix been at 30 fantasy points? That's what I've been focused on, because he's been my fantasy quarterback. So maybe my perception is getting a little bit warped, but Bo Nix has been consistent in fantasy recently, so that means the Broncos offense is chugging along. And again, Richardson's confidence against that defense is early in that game was definitely encouraging for Richardson, but it's a weird game for us, chat, because make no mistake, for those of you that, don't know the history. I mean, I think most people can kind of guess the history between a Colts fan and the Broncos. Obviously, Peyton Manning is the connecting force there. And I mean, there are a lot of people that made the full-on commitment, made the full-on jump over to the team. Shout out our guy, Fataport. He made the commitment. Our brother as well, too. He made the commitment over to the Broncos. And make no mistake, like, when he went over, there was definitely like a 6-week period, that first half of the season where we were like, yeah, I think we're doing it. I think we're Broncos fans now. Like, we're all there. And then in the back of our head, we were like, nah, you got to still, like, be loyal to the Colts. But, I guess it's kind of like, well, I don't know how graphic we want to get with our analogies when we this early in, chat, but make no mistake, it's like the Broncos are just in our lives to stay. Like, they're still like, and I think it's a good relation. Like, it's like, I don't know, it's not like they're like over at events. Like, that would be crazy. You can't have that happening, because then all of a sudden, I mean, maybe you're in like a, if it's like a Patrice O'Neal, I don't know, could he pull that off? Get the other people hanging out, introduce a little third person, but the Broncos make no mistake, they're still around, chat. They're still in the mix. So these games are always very awkward for us. We're just kind of like sitting around going, oh yeah, we don't know anybody here. This is crazy. What are these two teams doing? But they're definitely battling for a playoff position as we speak. But like we were saying, Bills-Lions is headlining the day. And we are not still at 3 minutes. Yeah, here we go. We're updating. The Bills driving again. And the Lions are only down 1 score. I guess the Bills could put up a touchdown as well, too. Did the Bills get the ball to start? Let's see. In the red zone, we're whipping around. The Rem zone? The Salmon Rem zone? We're whipping around, It's, keeping all the drives in track, but okay, so yeah, Detroit started with the ball 3 and out. Yeah, those first couple of drives, I think, 8 plays for 3 yards in those first 2 drives, and then they've moved the ball successfully the last couple of times. But make no mistake, the Bills offense has not been stopped. Are they going to go 4 for 4 on touchdowns in the first half? And we knew this was going to be an offensive drive. But those early stops by the Bills defense, are those going to end up being the difference? And the Bills will get the ball to start the second half. So I don't know if will it go into out of reach territory. I mean, make the mistake, chat. Dan Campbell and the Lions, this is a locked in team. Like, would they just let the Bills go? I guess they've already let them go 4 times in a row. Pause. But, out of that half, some adjustments, re-locked in. Would they give up a 5th touchdown drive in a row? Even a field goal. Because then it would go, it'd be 28. It would still be 31-14. It could get out of hand, chat. Drama in Steelers-Eagles. Was that a field goal or an extra point? I don't know. I think that was an extra point. Yeah, because it was 3-17. Now it's 10-17. We're screwed in, chat. Make no mistake. But was it almost blocked? Almost missed? Either way, they get it to go. Oh, and Baker, did he almost throw another pick? And it's not just seeing these teams like matched up against each other too necessarily. It's seeing all of these guys on the field at one time playing. It's like, or not, it's like they're all, we're seeing Baker and Hurts. We're seeing Josh Allen playing at the same time as Baker Mayfield. It's like, yes, both these teams are playoff teams. And obviously there's not a comparison there, but again, in the feistiness rankings, like we're seeing Jared Goff versus Josh Allen. And, the Lions, I think, are going to get the label as the better overall team going into this game, the deeper team, the better supporting cast for Jared Goff. Like, Jared Goff is not going to have to do as much in the Lions offense as Allen would have to do for the Bills. And that, of course, is true. But make no mistake, chat, like the Bills defense is good, of course, but the Lions have had some injuries, and regardless, like in these playoff games, in these high-level games, like these quarterbacks are still going to have to make some plays. Like, I guess we have seen some really, really great offensive lines keep quarterbacks well protected for, some good playoff runs. Is that a chain guy getting carted off in Bills-Lions? Make no mistake, chat, we've seen some injuries today. Shout out to that Dolphins, was it receiver, tight end that went down today? Grant Dubois, I hope I said that last name right. Dubose, Grant Dubois. But really scary situation. I've never seen a guy like had the jersey, the helmet. The helmet, of course, that's going to get taken off. But the full jersey cut out of the pads was pretty crazy. And make no mistake, as scary as it was, and not to try to downplay it in any way, but just to be okay, in the moment, is there any kind of way that's what are the signs that this guy is going to be, what levels of okay is he going to be going forward? And, we have seen the Dolphins, or not the Dolphins, I guess, before, but we have seen the league, stop a game for a guy getting hurt in a really serious situation. We know that Bengals game, of course, that one got canceled when Damar Hamlin went down. So it was okay, we know that at least it was okay on the field, even though, clearly there was a moment where, they had to go to this level to get him out of the uniform and stuff where, maybe they just never had to do that before. But I guess he was responsive in a way that, just straight up, he was more responsive than Damar Hamlin was at that moment. So, it was okay, then, get him to the, just make sure that we're locked in and making sure that this guy's taken care of. But, the medical report did come back as well, too, a little bit later, that he was okay. And, they say that about trauma, that's one of the worst things about trauma is hurt people. And Tua, man, first it was now the safety of Tua, what happens if he gets concussed? But now it's just he's inflicting his trauma on other people. He's leading these receivers right into these massive collisions. I don't know. Somebody needs to do a hospital ball track for this year. Do we need it? And I know it's we could just track bad throws, but that's a different type of bad throw. And I don't know, how much of a stat, how impactful that stat would be. If you're choosing between, some bad quarterbacks, I don't know if you're going to be are we going to choose the one that throws less hospital balls? But maybe you will, Chad. Again, teams get into these situations. I don't know what the would you rather be for Tua going forward is, but, if it's a Tua versus, is Tua versus Jameis a fair thing, chat? I just mean for Tua. Like, I don't know, like, what level is he down to at this point? Because, make no mistake, the last couple of weeks have not been good. And again, the guys getting injured as well, too, on top of it is, even if it's still, like, how much of it is to blame on the quarterback. Like, yes, he is. Tua is, of course, leading his guy there. The defender is, and I didn't see if there was a flag as well, too. Like, make no mistake, we were not, like, running this play back, like, breaking down what happened. But I didn't see if there was a flag called for some kind of hit or how clean the hit was. But, I guess I would assume there was a flag just because they throw flags on, the collision level now more so than just like the actual fundamentals of the hit itself. But, I don't know like how much of the percentage is actually on the quarterback in like a real film type of football way there. But, if hospital passes, like is it like, is your bad pass like would you rather your quarterback overthrow your guy at that situation? I mean, obviously you would rather have your quarterback. I was thinking in a situation where you get the collision and the guy is not hurt in that capacity. It's just the collision. But, would you rather have an overthrow or that? And it's like, yeah, you'd rather take the overthrow. So I guess I don't know. Again, from an advanced analytics standpoint, if hospital passes would be like an actual thing. But there's another guy this year. Who else was throwing a ton of hospital passes earlier, chat? Derek Carr? Derek Carr, I think, was a good hospital pass guy. Olave went down this year with a pretty aggressive Derek Carr over the middle, leading his receiver in. And maybe that just needs to be, maybe that would just become like a train of thought now in the NFL. Will be like, will receivers not being as aggressive in these pass attempts, like getting these passes over the middle, like will it be more accepted for that to happen from a fan standpoint and from a coach's standpoint? Because, as we move into like, a continued emphasis, of course, on players' health and player safety, but, as the rule changes and as I think the rule changes are also trying to stimulate, like some mentality changes as well, too, with how the players, it's like changing the fundamentals of tackles and how the players are like actually, addressing a hit on a receiver and on a defenseless receiver. And, the quarterbacks as well, too, as they like the fundamentals of sacking a quarterback have like drastically changed versus even like 5 years ago at this standpoint. But will that happen as well, too? Will the mindset of the football community for receivers going over the middle of the field, will that change? Because make no mistake, chat, like at the end of the day, this is real life. And, especially for me too, like, and I'm sure for Sam as well. I mean, of course we don't speak for Sam, but, as you get older and as, you become more aware of real life, like, it's like, yeah, I mean, of course, maybe a guy is not going to be as willing to take a hit over the middle of the field versus when, you're even in college, it's like, is a party on is a weekend out on a Saturday night. Like some of those feel like they're almost equivalent to games. So it's like, the way we push it's like pushing yourself through a Saturday night. I feel like, there'd be moments where you're like, yeah, of course you're diving out there in the moment. I feel like that's when most of those moments are exclaimed as well too. I feel like, is that what happens? Is that what becoming accustomed to real life is? Just not going out on a Saturday night in college? But because I wonder should that be another advanced stat? Like the exclamations of I can do that? Because make no mistake, chat, like the I can do that exclamations are, I mean, it's times 1,000 every time a guy drinks like a Corona. Like it's 6 exclamations for every the Corona that goes down. So like the bars and the tailgates and all that stuff, it's way up. Because I mean, I feel like there's very few moments where, a sober guy on his couch in the living room, and I guess we got to throw like a living, just a general like watch party in there as well too. People, getting lit at the house, the garage. I don't know, the patio. Are you guys in the early part of the season, the fall? You guys, anybody running like a big outdoor setup, projector, grill? Chat, DM us on Rem and Sam on Instagram. Your best game day setups. I don't know. Did we send that in too late? Because make no mistake, the East, the Midwest, it's the Midwest is covered in ice right now. So I can't imagine the rest of the winter spots in the nation are doing much better. But, LA, Florida, if you guys have got any sick outdoor game day setups, let us know. But, yeah, just like a normal guy sitting on his couch, there's very few moments where even that type of receiver over the middle of the field, defender's about to like really lower the hit on him, and you're like, okay, like what would I actually do in that situation? Like, I like to think I'm just about as competitive as any guy out there, and would be willing to sacrifice and make any play possible. But it's like, okay, we still want to be making plays at the end of the day here. Like, we've got games to go, we've got a season, so I guess I wonder, will that become a shift in the thing? Because I guess, like I was saying, I guess I could go either way with it at this point. I'd be down to see it either way. If it became a common thing where receivers just, it's like, wait, what's happening with these receivers going over the middle of the field? It's just one hand up every time and up, jog. And I feel like that is a little bit as well, too. Like, that is already starting to kind of happen. So I don't know. Maybe the league will inflict some kind of rule change that has happened as well, too, because I don't know if this year has necessarily been like a crazy year for that specific injury. And, a couple, I feel like that DeMar Hamlin year as well, too. Like, we had some real crazy stuff go down that year. I don't remember exactly the list of stuff that happened, because that was, by far the most historic one in, a way you necessarily don't want to go down in history. But, I guess the one that's going to be talked about as well. So that's just definitely the one that's going to be remembered. But if it does feel like we've had a lot of interesting injuries like that type of stuff. So shout out to that guy. It seems like, they were saying stable condition. So I'm not, I was not going to say it seems like he's doing okay, of course, but, it seems like he's going to, the man's a fighter. So, seems like he's going to be fine, but 8 seconds here in Bills-Lions first half. The Bills not giving up. Are they going to get a field goal opportunity? If Allen had hit Kincaid on that pass down the field, they would have had a shot. Where was that target line at? Where are they at right now, Chad? The ESPN's going to be like a little bit ahead of us, too. So I don't know if I want to check it. It's going to spoil what's going to happen. Do they go for the field goal? Do we get a Hail Mary attempt? Might as well just Hail Mary it. Yeah, Josh Allen, MVP. We did get MVP chance earlier in this game. They were not for Josh Allen. They were for Goff. The Lions fans, they're supporting their guy. I mean, make no mistake, the Lions fans, I don't know if of course the Colts fans are the best fans in the league, but the Lions fans right now, the support level, it's great to see. There's a clip of this one like Lions bar doing like a Dan Campbell lookalike contest, and there was just like 25 Dan Campbells on this karaoke stage at this bar in Detroit. And it was Dan Campbells from all walks of life. There was male Dan Campbells, female Dan Campbells. I'm sure there was, all kinds of Dan Campbells on that stage, but all singing about, what were they? Were they singing about Jared Goff? I think there was like 50 Dan Campbells on stage singing Jared Goff's name. Karaoke in this Detroit bar. I mean, it's you love to see it for the Detroit fans. They're having a great time. Oh, geez, we just dropped our football, chat. Oh, well, we have to get it, chat. It's powering us through right now. The football, the number one fidget toy. Shout out to the Colts. Nerf football. I think this is supposed to be like an autograph one. But we haven't been to a game or a training camp, haven't had anybody sign it. Do we need to get somebody to fly into the middle of Iowa onto the show? Because they can't sign it over Zoom. So we'll need to figure out how to make that work if that were ever to happen. But I don't know if it will be ever. Maybe we'll get an actual sign, real like autograph one, because I don't think the Nerf ones are. Because this is still like a Nerf one. They make just because it's this color, chat, doesn't mean it's for autographs. Like, they make autograph ones that are a little more like football. I mean, you guys know what we're talking about. You guys are locked into the football memorabilia out there. You guys know. I mean, you guys probably have signed football. I mean, slide into the DMs chat, Rem and Sam on Instagram. If you have any signed footballs, let us know what you guys are working with. Who's got the best collection of signatures out there? Who's got the best signed balls in the Rem and chat? Let's see what's going on out there. Slide into the DMs. Oh, geez. Now we've lost our red zone. Let us get it back here. And you know the NFL is popping when we might not even get to the NBA. I mean, the NBA is going to be firing up here. And make no mistake, it's not the NBA Cup Finals, so maybe it's good that the NFL has got a really packed week right now. But, I mean, this is how you build a slate, chat. I feel like this might be like the actual perfect, I don't know if I want to call it a perfect week in terms of how they built the slate, but it's pretty ideal. It's definitely a more ideal week because those Thursday and those Monday night games, I mean, you want those to be good games, but we did have that week was that last week or 2 weeks ago where it felt like, all the good teams had played already, so Sunday was kind of, and I guess that Chiefs-Chargers game Sunday night turned out to be worth it, but, it felt like most of the good teams had been in action on Sunday. Did we get Ravens-Eagles that week as well, too? I forget exactly what week that lined up, but you get Rams-Niners this week, too. Maybe the records aren't the best for both of those teams, but we know there's quality with both those teams. Like, both those teams are good enough for a Thursday night primetime game, and obviously that game turned out to be kind of a disaster. But again, good enough entertainment value-wise when those teams are cooking. That should be a good enough game. Stafford, Purdy, you're going to get good quarterback play, of course, and especially with the coaching on both those teams. And the Monday night game as well, too. So both of those, like, solo day games, because the Sunday night game, solo game, but, of course, it's on Sunday. Bears-Vikings, again, like Vikings, one of the better teams in the league this year. The Bears, maybe not so much, but Caleb Williams is entertaining from a storyline standpoint. In at least, right now as a rookie, even if he's playing like this, people still want to watch him. I don't know if that will be the case if that keeps up for the next couple of years. But as of right now, we're like, okay, let's see what's going on with Caleb Williams. We'll check it out. So put him in prime time. Will he be on the Manning cast? Wow, Peyton Manning breaking down a generational quarterback. Belichick. What will Belichick say about Caleb Williams? Will they ask Belichick about what he thinks about painted nails? I guess Belichick won't be on the Manning cast anymore, unfortunately. R.I.P. Belichick on the Manning cast. I forgot. The man is now a Tar Heel. He's at UNC. And I love it for him. Chat. But anyways, just to finish up on the slate. But the 1 o'clock slate, like, I'm not against having a good game in the 1 o'clock slate, of course, but I don't think you can stack that with, like, too many primetime games. Because make no mistake, like, it's still Sunday, chat. All the Christians and Muslims and Buddhists are all still getting out of church. So, and, Sunday lunches, the family. Like, I think America's still locked in on a Sunday vibe for the most part. Maybe not a full Sunday, but at least Sunday morning, I feel like, still carries at least some traditional aspects in American culture. So, you get people running around on a Sunday morning, maybe doing some stuff, and maybe having a few kind of sleeper teams. Because make no mistake, there was like zero playoff implications in the 1 o'clock slate. I think the best game today was Jags-Jets. At least it was the highest scoring game overall, I think. But, I mean, you got 7 combined wins versus both those teams. The Cardinals are 6-7. They're a decent team, and they've got as many wins as both those teams going into this week. So if they win, yeah, I mean, it's 7 combined wins now that the Jets have won the game. But, I mean, going into the game, they have as many wins as an average team. And that was the most entertaining game. You had the Ravens in action. The Commanders were in action. Potential upset late by the Saints. But outside of that, most of the teams, non-playoff teams. Bryce Young, welcome back, Bryce Young, the Bryce Young we're used to seeing. But we're still supporters. But then to stack this late slate, people are locked in We've got, of course, just a week of good games in general. Bills, Lions. It works out that both those teams are great. Steelers. All these teams end up being really good. But I don't remember did they have this many late games going into the season as well? And I guess I don't know going forward if these last couple of weeks they're stacking that late window. But, 5 games again. 3 of them, I guess 4 of them with playoff teams. And even Cardinals-Patriots is kind of fun. I mean, I guess it's 13-3 right now. Not necessarily maybe the highest entertaining value, but it's a good game to have on in the mix. Kyler Murray, Drake May, they'll make plays. They're a good time to watch. So I think this is the perfect week for NFL. And then what do we got Sunday night? Packers, Seahawks? I mean, that's a game, chat. That's a game. That could be, you never know. That could be an ugly game. Jordan Love and Geno Smith. The defenses could be cooking, but probably not for the Seahawks. So there's a chance we get points in that one as well. I guess it could get ugly. Also, could the Packers get a dominant win? But it's on the road. It's in Seattle. They don't have the line up here. Let's see what we got. Are the Packers favored going into this one? Packers by 2.5 on the road. Okay. So definitely respect for the Packers. And I think they feel of course they feel a little bit better than one win with this line. But still, maybe Seattle 1.5 feels maybe a little bit more appropriate. What was their home field record this year, chat? Let's see. Oh, 3-4. So they haven't been good at home. Okay. What's going on in Seattle, chat? Are you guys making the team nervous? What's going on? It used to be a biggest home field advantage in the league. The crowd yelling used to be actually something that excited the team. Now is that scary, or is that Portland? What are we thinking of, chat? Shout out to the West Coast. We love the West Coast, the Bay. It's just jealousy, chat. We would move out there in an instant. The cities are better than here, of course. Much better. But I guess we shouldn't say that while we're still here, chat. We gotta live in this city still. We can't turn it against us. But shout out, it's a great city. It's the best city, most wonderful city, awesome city. But is it better than Seattle, chat? If we were in Seattle, it's all amazing. The country, we love it. America, shout out. But anyways, we're getting into the second half here for these games. Let's go, chat. And the Lions, I feel like they need some adversity, chat. What were we saying? I feel like there was something else we were mentioning as well too that I wanted to say. We were talking about the matchups. What were we saying? Oh well, chat. I guess it's not too important, but the Lions, like we were saying about the Lions earlier, and make no mistake, everybody's been saying about the Lions, and that's been part of the problem. The vibes, it's not that they've been too good, but it's that they've been kind of all good this year. And they've had some games. Are they just still at the one loss to Tampa? Did they lose to Green Bay? No, yeah, they just had that one loss to Tampa earlier in the season, which was more of a Jared Goff kind of, the Lions were not really playing well in that game and earlier in the season, and dropped a game. And I guess were the Lions were they wanting to go undefeated this year? Was that a goal of theirs? Because I mean they've really locked in, of course, these last couple of weeks. They're 12-1, but again they need to face a little pre-playoff adversity, I think. And again, not that they haven't had the tough games, but to have their backs to the wall, to feel kind of like another team's gotten them and is outplaying them a little bit, and just to force them to dig a little bit deeper. Pause. Because I still feel like even in some of those Packers games, did the Vikings get up on them early, chat? I'm trying to remember. That was earlier in the season. And of course, the Lions, I think the perception of those teams, the Lions have definitely far surpassed what we thought of the Vikings, even though maybe it was a little closer going into the season. Look at this, chat. The early Detroit name, the Portsmouth Spartans. Wow. Should they have, I guess, Detroit Spartans? You know, we're not really a big fan of Spartans on this pod. Go blue. But it is a cool name, regardless. The mascot, I mean, it is what it is. The Michigan State mascot is, I think, in terms of popularity, a Tier A mascot. Again, I don't think you're going to hear us calling it a Tier A mascot, but it gets the love. It gets in all the commercials. It's a big money mascot, that's for sure. Chicago, that's right. Chicago pushed them a little bit, chat. But again, like Chicago, you go in the playoffs, we expect them to kind of take that team. The Minnesota game was close. Green Bay, that last game, yeah. And then the Rams were kind of feisty with them early in the season. The Cardinals, but again, they were kind of not necessarily playing their best football as well. So this is definitely the most backs against their wall. And again, I think outside of maybe the Packers, because they haven't played the Eagles yet, and they don't play the Eagles this year. They do play. I guess the Niners aren't going to be in the playoffs, so they don't even have to worry about them if the Niners are, still a bad matchup. And I guess the Niners at this point, probably not. They'll probably take care of business in that game just fine. But in terms of a matchup where if you were to lose that game and get outperformed, you would look at that team and go, oh, if we faced them again. And not that the Lions would be ever a scared team. I don't think Dan Campbell would ever coach a scared team. But maybe there would be a little bit in the back of their minds as, oh, is that team actually better than us? Because, again, I don't think anybody thinks the Packers are better than the Lions. I think people think that the Packers can play with the Lions, can have a good game. There's familiarity there. Did we just get logged out of our red zone chat? Oh, geez. Give us a second. What's this Bushi chat? What is this? Why did it log us out? Oh, is it going to get us back in? Maybe we're good. Maybe it's just slow loading. I don't know. It started to give us sign-in material. Okay, we're back in. Scott Hansen, where'd you go? Our leader in NFL coverage. Shout out Scott Hansen. But one thing he did say about Detroit as well, too, is that this was the best Detroit team of our lifetimes, which is definitely true, of course, with in terms of their standing in the league as well, too. I don't know if you go maybe talent for talent. If there was like a Barry Sanders team that maybe had a guy or two on it that you go, okay, maybe the high-end talent on that team carries it. Maybe you take that roster just because of that. But I think this would obviously be the Lions team that you would take from, again, our lifetimes, which I don't know what you guys want to consider a lifetime. But, I think we're talking... Are we talking 100 years, chat? Like, are we going big lifetime? Are we going the Rogie lifetime? Are we going like an actual human lifetime? Like, are we going 60 years, 70 years? Like, are we kind of calculate the youth in some of the football fandom? Bring it, lower the age just a little bit? Sports lifetimes versus real lifetimes. Is it 30 years? But, I mean, even still, what, 12 wins? Nice. So, yeah, they win 10 wins in 1970 and then don't win double-digit games again until 91 when they have a little bit of success in the 90s with Sanders. And then just, a couple of years with Stafford, of course. I mean, we know the Lions' history. So, again, not saying that Scott Hansen was making any hot takes. And that, I think, is the correct way to phrase it as well, too, our lifetime, because I think we need to actually go back and look at some of these teams that actually ended up winning the championship. Like, make no mistake, chat, as desperate as the Lions have been in recent memory and as dark as the history has, as bleak as it has gotten for Detroit over the last, maybe even lifetime and a half. again, they have won at least some championships in the mix. So, like, same with Cleveland. Like, Cleveland, as bad as it's been recently, like, they're maybe the worst run team of the 21st century. Maybe both these Detroit up until this point was in the mix. But, Cleveland did have Otto Graham at one point. They do have championship banners, at least to go back and go, we were at one point the best that the NFL had to offer. So there are at least a couple of franchises that I think, like, Arizona has never won any kind of championship, like, even dating back to, pre-Super Bowl. So there may be a couple franchises that if you wanted to go, okay, like, the actual complete history of this team, like, is it maybe even slightly more bleak than what Detroit has had to offer? But it's like, okay, we can't totally wipe out some of these 50s Detroit teams just because the other teams have been so bad. There was also, an 11-3 team here in 62? Finished second? What happened to them in the playoffs, chat? What happened to the 62 Lions? Don Shula, defensive coordinator. Wow, a cheat code. Was this early Don Shula before he emerged? Because, I mean, him with the Dolphins in the 70s would have been him at the peak of his powers. What happened to this team in the playoffs, chat? What was the playoff system like in 62? Was it just like college football? Was it just a one-off championship game? They didn't even get a chance? What happened? Fifth in offense, second in defense? I mean, what's the net rating on this team? Strength, simple rating season. So second overall according to this Pro Football rating system, Pro Football Reference for this year, just in terms of the stats. The Packers end up being crowned league champions. Which newspaper labeled the Packers the champions back then? So, yeah, I guess this was back in the day. They just played a one-off championship game. So, Detroit got the nod. Or, New York, the Giants got the nod. Yeah, 11-2. Okay, finished with one win better than Detroit. Was this Y.A. Tittle? Shout out to Y.A. Tittle. I mean, lighten up the league that year. 33 touchdowns. 3,200 yards. 20 picks. I mean, Y.A. Tittle couldn't be stopped. Second in league. Oh, I mean, Y.A. Tittle and Frank Gifford at flanker. I mean, nobody was going to stop this 62 Giants offense, chat. Make no mistake. With as good as Detroit might have been in 62, makes sense the Giants would get that nod. And the Packers, 13-1. Look at that. All makes sense. They win the championship. Bart Starr. I mean, Jim Taylor. There we go. League MVP. Bart Starr, second team All-Pro. Interception percentage a little high, 3.2. Not the most efficient quarterback. Also, Paul Hornung in the mix. 9 games. Did Paul Hornung get suspended mid-season? What was the Paul Hornung timeline, chat? Shout out. I forget. Our Gramps loved Paul Hornung. Big Paul Hornung guy. Herb the defense that year was just the Packers, the first team All-Pro defense. I guess Bart Starr is in the mix as well too. He threw 9 picks, so I guess he had a couple of tackles. Fumble recovery gets you in the log for defense. Were they not keeping tackles back then? I guess not. Just fumbles and picks. So yeah, I guess there's some offensive players in here with some Bart Starr, a little loose with it. Pause. Whoa. Some offensive linemen here jumping on some fumbles as well. But yeah, Herb Adderley, Willie Davis, Billy Forrester, Henry Jordan. Jerry Kramer at guard. Yeah. All-time great. Jim Ringo as well. Shout out. Names you hear brought up in offensive lineman lore. The mythical Jedi ghosts of offensive linemen, Jim Ringo and Jerry Kramer. Was Jerry Kramer the guy that got the big block in the Ice Bowl? Who was that, chat? Is this too much football history? Is this too football nerdy? But it's an iconic play, chat. The Ice Bowl, Packers, Cowboys, a super snowy game. I guess back when the biggest storyline in the NFL was the game was snowy. There was a lot of weather. Fuzzy Thurston? I think it might have been Forrest Gregg, chat. It might have been Forrest Gregg, and they had it. I forget if it was like a 4th and goal, a 3rd and goal, but there was a goal-to-go situation on the goal line, of course, for the Packers. And Bart Starr, little quarterback keeper situation right behind the offensive lineman. Got it to go. Won the game. And I think that was like a championship. The winner played in the championship game. I don't think that game itself was the championship game, if I'm not mistaken. But anyways, a long detour, chat, to explain why the 62 Lions ended up not winning the title. But what about, so they've won 3 championships in their history, of course, under Bobby Lane. Doak Walker in the mix, of course, has an award in college named after him. So just from a record standpoint, the 53 Lions at 10-2 was the best regular season team. I mean, iconic, coached by a guy named Butter and Buddy and a guy named Buster. There probably was a Butter as well, too. Buddy, Buster, and Butter, all in the same team over at Briggs Stadium. Partial owner Lyle Fife. I mean, come on, chat. You gotta... Some of the 50s stuff, the names were iconic anyways. If there was one thing from the era we would bring back, beat Cleveland in the 50s, probably Otto Graham, you would imagine. Just in the championship every year that year. But let's see who we had in the starting lineup for the 53 Lions. Did they have, who was the big corner from back in the day? Night Train Lane? When did Night Train Lane play for the Lions? Nugget Train Lane? Let's see here. 52 to... So he would have been on the team. He would have been on the team in 53. Was he hurt? Played 11 games. 3 interceptions, so he was not at the peak of his powers in 53. He was, however, in 54 and in 50. So did they not have awards in 52? They must not have, because 14 interceptions, obviously the most iconic defensive back season of all time. One of them anyways. Oh, and I guess he did it for the Rams. Oh, so yeah, I guess he went to Detroit later, chat. We should actually read the read the box score. He got to Detroit in the 60s. So he would have been on Detroit on that 62 team. Wow, so let's go back to it, chat. When did they trade Bobby Lane? Maybe that's why they didn't win the title. They couldn't line up they needed the Lane combination, the two-way lane. Whoa, how did we end up on Hockey Reference? Get out of here. It's not a hockey pod. Let's see. Who upset the Lions in the regular season and cost them the championship? Maybe they played the Packers and ended up losing. Milt Plum was at quarterback. So maybe this was more of a defensive team. I mean, yeah, you've got 4 first-team All-Pros on the defense that year. Roger Brown at tackle. Joe Schmidt at middle linebacker. Of course, Night Train Lane, like we mentioned, at cornerback. Yale Larry at safety. Dick LeBeau playing football in the 50s? I mean, you just can't go anywhere without... Dick LeBeau was just on every team everywhere in NFL history. Shout out. The man still... Is he still playing? I think Dick LeBeau might have been in a game earlier today. But apparently not enough to get any award recognition yet for our guy Dick. Alex Karras making a little... Is that a Pro Bowl selection as well? So, of course, the defense was stacked for the 52 Lions. So maybe the best defensive unit. If you could put the 62 Lions defense with the 52 Lions or with the 2024 Lions offense, I mean, you're probably going to take a modern offense anyways, chat, right? take the modern coaches. I don't know, though. Buddy Gordon, or whoever that guy was. Buddy Parker and Buster Ramsey. Would you rather have Dan Campbell and Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn, or Buddy Parker and Buster Ramsey? George Wilson. I think he's the Wilson dad, right? Luke and Owen Wilson. That's their dad. George Wilson. But on offense, you had, Bobby Lane and Doak Walker in 53 for the Lions. You had Les Bingaman making first-team All-Pro at middle guard on defense. So defensive lineman, maybe? He ended up with an interception. Let's see here, chat. Did we get measurables on our guy Les Bingaman? Yeah, 6'3", 272. Our guy was playing on the line. 3 All-Pros as well, too. A short run, shout out. 48-54. You love to see it. You love to see it. Making 3 first-team All-Pros in the start of the 50s. But I don't know, chat. If you put in Yale, Larry's still hanging around, not quite first-team All-Pro, but you know that potential's there early in his career. A 23-year-old, a young, spry Yale Larry in the secondary in 53. Bob Horschenschmermenmeyer at right hashback, running for over 482 yards, 282 yards receiving. I mean, it's a little similar to the Gibbs Montgomery combination that they have now. Would you guys rather have Goff and Gibbs or Doak Walker and Bobby Lane? It's a simple question. I think if the Lions had Hutch playing, because that is also like a little technicality as well too right now. Like Hutch is out, so if we were going, if this Lions team, if Hutch is not in the Lions lineup that is out there that wins the Super Bowl. I mean, if the Lions win the Super Bowl, then of course, greatest Lions team ever, and it's not even close. But I don't know. Again, they did win the championship. 53 did win the championship, so it's not like they achieved the highest level honor that they could at their time, same like this Lions team did. So I don't know. Do we need to put respect on the 53 Lions, chat? Would you guys rather have the 53 Lions or the 2024 Lions? Is it a conversation? Is it close? Doak Walker versus Jahmyr Gibbs? Does Jahmyr Gibbs have... Are they going to rename the Doak Walker Award the Jahmyr Gibbs Award? Because if they were, I would be more open to the idea that this modern team is better. But since this team is established in history. Jax Christensen. I mean, 12 interceptions for the safety. So if you could go into like a my GM mode and get this team to trade for Night Train Lane a little bit earlier somehow, then I think you would have probably figured out which lineup would be the best. But let's go to that. Did they win it in 55 again? 56? Oh, 3-9 in 55. A bit of a step back. 57, no. 57, they win the championship at 8-4. Oh, and they have to win a couple of playoff games. George Wilson gets promoted to coach. Buster Ramsey still chugging along as defensive coordinator. So maybe, I don't know, Aaron Glenn, is he at risk in the all-time Lions team spot defensive coordinator for Buster Ramsey? He had a run. 3 championships. Defense. Maybe 7 is good normally, but when it's 7 out of 12, maybe it's a little bit of a stretch. Bobby Lane still there. Doak Walker gone. Building through the offensive line, though. Lou Creekmer and Harry Sewell? Harley Sewell? Is this an early Sewell? Oh, and the Colts defense getting another turnover. I mean, Gus Bradley is Bo Nix's kryptonite. It's just what it is. Bo Nix has looked about as is probably the worst Bo Nix has looked since that Jets game, to be honest. And again, as a rookie, you kind of forget that he is a rookie, so that's a credit to Bo Nix. But he is a rookie. He's gonna take his lumps. Pause. Jalen Hurts, 16 for 18. Oh, make that 16 for 19 as he throws it out the back of the end zone. But still, the efficiency has been crazy for him today. But the defense looks like, I mean, you get Joe Schmidt in the mix. Jack Christensen again. Jim David, adding his name to the Pro Bowl list. Darius McCord. Oh, what happened to Sewell? Is there any chance? No, of course. Not the OG Sewell. But an early Sewell offensive lineman, you never know. And shout out to this OG Lions logo as well, too. This is pretty sick. I don't know if this would go with the jersey that they're wearing today. The black with the blue and black helmets. Can't complain. But if they could work the throwbacks in somehow. Maybe not these uniforms exactly, but I don't know. Maybe just some merch. Maybe just a collab. An Eminem Lions throwback collab. But they destroyed the Browns in the championship game. I had to think about a word that YouTube wasn't going to take us down for. Make no mistake. Are they a little sensitive right now after the CEO started going down? They didn't, KILL this team. They destroyed them. I don't know what's better, chat. But from a football standpoint, the old Paul Brown Browns, Milt Plum. Oh, boy, chat. They did not win because of Milt Plum. 5 for 12 for 51 and 2 picks is crazy. I guess Milt Plum was Cleveland. Tobin Rote was Detroit. Oh, man, Milt Plum costing him the game. A 14.9. Is this the worst championship performance ever? Did we just stumble on it, chat? Milt Plum. Jim Brown, 20 carries for 69 yards. Shout out. Doing what he can. But Tobin Rote, 4 touchdowns. Almost as many touchdowns as incompletions. A very Jared Goff-esque stat line as well. The defense, oh yeah, all the picks. Wait, so 2 picks from Milt Plum, 2 from Taniyo Cobble, 1 from Chet Hanuluk? Chet Hanuluk, 0 for 1 pick, and then got yanked right away. Yikes. Oh, he fumbled as well, too, so maybe there was 2 plays for Chet, and they were like, yeah, maybe we're going to Tommy O'Connell after that. I don't know. Maybe they just were like, okay, now you're handing off to Jim Brown and Luke Carpenter every single time. But the 57 Lions, maybe the most dominant team the Lions have ever had. I guess we should just check. We got the one last championship team. We'll do our diligence, chat. Lyle Fife really constructing great teams in the 50s. You got to give him credit. What happened to the Fife family, the partial owner? Did he sell the rest off to the... Is it still the Ford family? 52. Probably would have been pretty similar, of course, to 53. And again, a Detroit... Man, the 50s! An alternate timeline, chat. Detroit and Cleveland. Battling it out every year for who was the best team in the league. Oh, they also had Cloyce Box. Shout out the old fantasy, the Ringer Fantasy Pod. Cloyce Box. I remember they kept bringing his name up for some reason back in the day. So he must be good. And I mean, he had 15 touchdowns. So he was balling. No Doak Walker. So did they bring in Doak Walker to replace Cloyce Box? I mean, Cloyce Box was 29 at this point. Maybe it was time for him to hang it up. Laverne Thornson? Military service? Shout out Cloyce Box. Salute to you, sir. You're a good man. Went to the military and then dropped 15 touchdowns in the league the next year. Just crazed running through the league after going overseas. And then, yeah, apparently puttered out after the end of that. The OG Peyton Hillis. Cloyce Box. But then in 53. So with all due respect to Cloyce Box, I think in my all-time team, I'm taking Doak Walker. So at 20, was Doak Walker also in the military? Was this a military pipeline, chat? What happened? 52, 53. No, I guess he was on the team in 52. Oh, 7 games played? Yeah. And then in 53. I mean, look at this, chat. Basically, every year the man was healthy. He was first team All-Pro. So I don't know what kind of status we're going to start giving Gibbs and Montgomery after the season closes, depending on what happens. But don't forget about Doak Walker, chat. Ewell Doak Walker the second. Man, that's tough. Ewell Doak. I don't know. Doak Walker is not bad. But, yeah, Ewell is crazy. And was he kicking extra points? Look at this, chat. Was he first team All-Pro because of the kicking? I think he was. But he was also a great running back as well, too. I didn't even realize that we were looking at the kicking stats, chat. I was just focused on the years. What was he doing for running? I get the problem with running stats they are all warped up. Should we see? 53. Was he the running back? Tommy Keene, shout out. Baltimore. That's Colts, chat. That's the Colts. Back then, anyways. Yeah, Otto Graham, first team All-Pro center, of course. Les Bingaman, our guy. So, yeah, he's listed first team All-Pro. Left halfback. Do they have a kicker on here? Were the writers putting in that much work in 52? Or did they actually go, we don't even care. The kickers were so disrespected in 52. They didn't even make the All-Pro team. But then again, all these players were just doubling up, so maybe Doak Walker was also just the first team All-Pro kicker as well. I mean, like we were saying, those stats, he was leading the league, so good chance he was. Do we go to the old Wikipedia? See what's up? Look at this team, chat. Otto Graham, Lou Groza, Hugh McElhaney would go on to star in It's Always Sunny. You love to see it. Nickname King, literally the king. Hurricane Hugh, Hustlin' Hugh, Hurricane Hugh. We're going to have to steal Hurricane Hugh for Hurricane Mayfield. But he still has Hustlin' Hugh. Hurricane Hugh. But look at that. The 52-53 backfield battle of Doak Walker and Hugh McElhaney. Chat, who was the best running back in 53? Let us know. Do you guys have McElhaney or Walker? What's your take? Dude, we need to watch the clips. We'll watch the clips before we give our opinion, but I know you guys are locked in already. You guys know what's up. Broncos sticking around. 13-10. Tampa has surged back. Whoa. It's a hurricane, people. Mayfield has thrown, again, 4 picks today. And somehow the third quarter, Tampa has charged out in front. Mayfield. Okay, he only had 1. A couple of them must have been dropped, I guess. Bucky Irving, can you please do it again next week? I think my fantasy team is cooking today, and we're on bye. I hate to see it. I mean, I love that we were able to get to the 2 seed, I guess, but the rust factor, chat. It's just, oh, man, we had some good performances. And make no mistake, from our good players as well, too. So, Puka had a good week. Nico Collins, Chase Brown once again. Bucky Irving has looked good. Breece Hall, we just put him in our flex just to demote him. Just because that's the performances he's been putting up. I know it doesn't exactly matter where he's been in the lineup. I guess we could switch him out for Pollard again. But Bucky Irving would probably get promoted up to RB2. Got to make sure the team morale is correct, chat. Got to make sure the ones who deserve it get the spots that they earn. And make no mistake, chat. Instead of taking the week off and, it's a holiday season, being with the family, we got some extra time, we earned the bye week. We just made sure everybody was in the gym. We were watching Red Zone. Every time there was a touchdown, just bench press. Push-ups, chat. Pull-ups for every point scored today. In action. The team's still in the gym right now. Fortunately, Anthony Richardson and the Broncos not the game's not really scoring that much. So, a little bit of a rest between sets there, but Bills Lions is not helping him out any. But hopefully we'll be back in the mix for next week. We're scaring down a terrifying opponent, apparently. Our brother was warning us. He's like, you don't want to play the team that's up next. And I was like, well, but what if they lose? And he was like, I was like, what? If the other team can beat him, why can't I beat him? And he was like, I'm telling you, it's a scary team. They really can pop off. You got to look out for him. And it's like, well, at the end of the day, it's fantasy. Like, I can't game plan to stop this team. That actually just something that dawned on me this year, chat, is I haven't even really, looked at the team that I'm playing against necessarily, because it literally does not matter. It does not matter. I just have to go. I mean, the total points obviously matter, and I've looked at that, of course. But who am I playing against? And I guess it's like, oh, they're they're winning the game. How is that possible? Who's playing well for that team? Go check it out. Of course, the standard fantasy stuff. But just the matchup angle of it, of oh, my quarterback is going up against this guy, whatever. I guess it is the mental, could I win this week? But again, at the end of the day, if I've got Bo Nix going up against Lamar Jackson, it's not well, I can scheme up this Steelers defense to stop. It's all out of my control. It's literally out of my control. The only thing I can do is just set the lineup with the guys that, I think is going to perform the best. You cannot game plan to stop the other team in fantasy football. I don't know if Sleeper, find a way to add game planning boosts in. Can I get an interception thing for if this happens, then takes points from here? Whatever. I don't know how they would make it work, but yeah, it's it's another thing to worry about, and I'm not gonna get worried about who I'm facing this week in fantasy. Is my lineup locked in and primed to be the best that it can? I guess this week, Njoku was out again. We're on bye. We didn't need to worry about it, but are we gonna need to find a tight end going forward? Man, he had 3 of his last 4 weeks. I mean, 5. Man, Njoku has just been good lately. Shout out to Njoku. Tight end 10 on the year. He had 23 in week 7, 17 in week 8, 19 in week 10, or week 11. They had a bye week in week 10. So that one of the weeks that was in a break there, the gap between the double-digit points, he wasn't even playing. 3 in week 12, 26 in week 13, 17 in week 14, and then, of course, was out today versus Kansas City. But shout out. Again, we are staring down our brother for a potential championship matchup, so it could be a tense week in the family. Potential week 17 of the NFL season, but we'll see. We can only try to make it through next week with the opponent that we end up playing. But Puka had a big. I mean, Puka, I think we're just locked in for good games at this point. The Jets next week. Sauce. I know the Jets are not necessarily a scary opponent, but of course, Sauce, DJ Reed, it's a tough matchup. Nico Collins had 2 touchdowns today. I don't know if he's going to do that back-to-back weeks, but fortunately, he only had 17 yards. So, KC next week. Man, chat, some brutal matchups. Nico Collins against KC, Puka against the Jets, Chase Brown against the Browns, the Steelers defense against the Baltimore offense. Yikes. Okay, we've got the Colts defense against Tennessee. So I guess we just need to keep a look in again, making sure we're setting our lineup properly. But either way, the Cardinals are about to score here. So hopefully the boys are warming up for some more push-ups. Should we get down and do them if the the push-ups, guys, not the yikes. Should we do the push-ups if the Cardinals get in? We're training for next week. We can't get rusty. We're going for the fantasy championship, chat. The problem is, did we do a little push day already? Are these push-ups going to be a struggle? Okay, good. The Patriots got to stop. We're fortunate. And see, the Bills are scoring as well, too. So sometimes you got to, 20 in a row. You get 3 teams that score. Sometimes there's some field goals. Maybe you're only 6, and then there's a turnover as well, too. You get really lucky. But 3rd and goal here for the Cardinals. Is it 6? He walks into the end zone. 6 push-ups, chat. Should we wait to kick the extra point? We should wait and see, just because, should it be 6 or 7? Plus, the Bills are at 1st and goal here as well, so we may as well just do all these push-ups at one time if the Bills score here. And with 3 minutes left in the 3rd quarter, a chance to go up 35-14. We should have been paying attention in the 3rd quarter. Let's get an update on what these Lions drives were, chat. You're going to have to fill us in on what the games are going on. What's going on? Oh, Josh Allen penalized the line. Yikes. Oh, a fumble on the previous drive. Who fumbled? Amon-Ra? Deep pass to Amon-Ra. Fumbled, forced by Benford. Wait a second, chat. Whoa. Sneeze. No. Yes. Oh, there it is. I didn't know if it was going to happen, chat. Pause. But, woo. Sorry about that. I don't know. Does the mic mute out sneezes? Zoom might clip out the sneeze. I don't know. They've got weird sensors on there. Touchdown, Bills. Josh Allen to Shakur. 5 plays, 26 yards off of the fumble. But a 3 and out as well, too. So the Bills defense locked in to start both halves. The first half forced the short drives for the Lions. The 3 plays and the 5 plays again. And then 3 and out to start the half, minus 5 yards. I guess off the penalty, not going to help. But sacked as well, too. Rousseau taking over the game in the third quarter. And Josh Allen just controlling the ball. Love to see it, chat. Speaking of Josh Allen, Bo Nix? Mini Josh Allen? Oh, he throws it low, chat. It's going to be incomplete. Who's more similar to Josh Allen in that game, chat? Bo Nix or Anthony Richardson? I know who you would think. Mayfield on 3rd and 12, down the middle of the field to Mike Evans. Is that fantasy points for Sam's team? I forget which team was in the championship potential for. Was it his random league that nobody cares about, or was it his real league? I don't know. Was it the auto-generated league? I feel like any real person you know in the auto-generated league wins those leagues. Maybe it's just those are the only leagues. They're not going to talk about the auto-generated league that they went into and then their team's, 4 and whatever, and they sucked at drafting and they took McCaffrey in the first round. They're like, what a steal. We got McCaffrey at 3. Oh, well, maybe that's not going to necessarily work out for you. But, of course the leagues with the friends in it are going to be the most important ones. But again, it's like, it's the fact that you know the competitor. So I guess it's the fact that the competitors know you as well, too, from the drafting standpoint a little bit. So what I would assume the draft, I don't know, what's harder, chat? Pause. Not an auto draft league, but like a random public league where, let's say, everybody is drafting like a normal draft. A reasonable public draft where you don't really know what's going to happen because you just don't know anybody in it. Or the league where you know everybody in it. And you kind of get a feel for, because if you have a feel, you can kind of sense it out. Because that is, I think, an advantage. At least I try to calculate for in our fantasy league, and I'm sure it is in every fantasy league, is, oh, this guy is probably going to lean this way toward this player. Like the Lions would be a perfect example. Shout out. You'd be like, oh, they're going to be good. The Lions fan in our group, shout out to Champ, he's probably going to be eyeing Jahmyr Gibbs early in the draft. Why is it making us try to sign up for NFL Plus again? We're already paying. Make no mistake, the NFL loves to double charge. I feel like same with League Pass, but not quite as bad as the NFL. Let's see here, chat. Because I feel like when it's kicked us out before, it's said that it's kicked us out. It's not just like quitting on us. Okay, sorry, chat. Let's take a quick timeout to see if we can get the red zone figured out. Oh, geez. Speaking of getting figured out, now we've got IT. We've got a couple of IT things we need to clean up, chat. We need to take a quick break, and we'll be right back. I don't think we need to hurry. This Bills-Lions game is not getting any closer, but make no mistake, we'll do our best to try to get it back. Scott Hansen, where'd you go? Okay, we're back. The red zone doesn't want to work. It's just what it is, people. We've missed the Amon-Ra touchdown. If the NFL wants us to watch NBA on the big screen, we're not going to argue with them. It's just what it is. Shout out to the Magic and the Knicks. But we'll still have to throw it on second screen here. 66 yards for St. Brown. So, a big strike like that, of course, going to make it a little bit interesting here. Now they have a chance to get a stop. I mean, they could get a stop before the fourth quarter and potentially have the ball back. But we were good. We were going, of course, it's Rem and Sam. It's Sam and Rem zone. So we were focusing on NFL. We had red zone on the big screen and then Lions, Bills on the little screen. But we're just, like we said, we're going to have to go NBA big screen. And we're going to have to go red zone, I guess, on the little screen to see what's going on with the rest of these games. But Tampa is starting to pull away as well, too. I guess the Chargers have the ball and are looking to score here on this drive. Big drive, Jim, for the Chargers. Broncos also in scoring position. And with the lead already, or is ESPN ahead of us? Maybe they're ahead of us. Oh, I guess we just got the replay of the touchdown is arriving. Okay, we're catching up on the red zone, people. We're back. We're locked in. Shout out. Bo Nix. Wow. Oh, and now the Colts punting. Oh, was this the return that set him up? Was it special teams? Oh, off the punt, chat. Is that Mims? Turning the corner? Taking it inside the 20 to the 15. Wow, chat. Mims on the big return set him up. The Colts special teams. Again, the defense and the special teams been the cleaner units for the team this year. So if those are the ones that are starting to give up plays, it may not be our week, chat. Are we going to be going over to the girlfriend's house, chat? Sorry, Indy. It's just what it is if they get the win. But Herbert, under pressure, of course, has been limping a little bit as well, too. So, is he just a limping? I think he's just a... Pause. Oh, we can't say Herbert's a limp guy. That's crazy, chat. That is crazy. But he is always limping around with injuries, it seems like, a little bit. And make no mistake, he definitely got his ankle twisted up quite a bit earlier on the one that he was really down on. But 19 for 29 for 179 so far. Chargers defense, or Bucks defense, sorry, turning up here, getting another stop. Man, the Chargers are going to drop one. Is Fields in the game for Wilson? Is this a play? Is this a thing? Oh, no, that's Wilson. Okay. My bad, chat. It was a short play, so I just assumed it was Fields. Anytime it's a screen pass, I go, Justin Fields, what? He's in the game? Justin Fields is throwing screens? And Cardinals on a 3rd and 4. Could they put I guess the game is probably already put away here. Up 23-10. But a good drive here would definitely do that. So looking at some of the games that happened earlier today as well, too, chat. Because like we said, maybe not necessarily some playoff implications, but still some fun results. And I guess Dolphins-Texans as well, too. I guess the injury is going to overshadow that game. Texans, Dolphins still kind of in the playoff mix. And again, I know Tua maybe is going to get a lot of the fingers pointed at him this offseason. But, Tua was also a guy that we knew kind of, like Mike McDaniels was brought in for a purpose. And I know you're all, regardless of the quarterback that you have, maybe you're going to try to maximize the potential, right? You're going to bring in the best supporting cast you can. Hurts is a guy I think, yes, that he can lead a team to very high levels of success. We've seen him go to a Super Bowl, and I think a lot of people still think that he could do that. But it's like, yeah, he still needs a good coordinator. You're going to look out to Kellen Moore. You're still going to try to bring in the best supporting cast that you can for him. And, for Tua, you're going to Mike McDaniel says you're going to bring him in to try to enhance Tua. So while yeah, of course, Tua, like we're saying, he may get the fingers pointed at him this offseason. And, unfortunately, chat, maybe that's it is what it is. Like, and, it's a tough thing to try to dissect Tua's play because we all know what's going on with Tua as well, too. So who knows what is what with the results that we get from his play. But regardless, at the end of the day, at some point you got to do what's best for your football team. So maybe, like we're saying, maybe they'd be looking at that position as like, what do we do to try to improve this team, or where are the moves that we would make going forward? But again, if Tua is not living up to standard, I think this situation is, well, we also brought in this guy that we knew kind of the quarterback maybe needed this extra little boost more so than some other guys. And this coach is going to be the one to do it. And I still am in on McDaniels as a coaching guy. Like, I would, if I was a team and McDaniels is now available in some capacity in a couple months, a couple weeks, who knows, I would be trying to, really scoop him up as an offensive coordinator or some kind of staff. Like, maybe even a head coach, like, depending on the team and the prospects that are out there. But, like, Mike McDaniels is still a super coveted name for capacities for other teams. But I don't know what the timeline is for him in Miami now. Because make no mistake, again, it's not like, I feel like with some of the coaching prospects, even if the talent around them is not what you would expect, you still go, oh, this team is still overachieving. There's still performances against certain teams where you go, this team showed up in a big way. This team is, week to week, there's a consistency. There's a fight there. I mean, like, even Detroit with Dan Campbell in some of those early years, it was like that team is a really, nasty, grinded out team, even if they're not necessarily getting wins in some of these moments. And then they had the end of the season run with Goff where they really started to turn it into wins. And it wasn't quite enough to get him into the playoffs, unfortunately, but we knew that they were building something there. And, I mean, maybe this Denver team with Sean Payton is a little like that as well, too. I know at some point it is like, okay, maybe it is a little more talented than we were giving it credit for. Like, the defensive unit is one of the better in the league, and the offense is sustaining itself. But still, like, Sean Payton is really maximizing this team. And I don't know if we would look at the Dolphins and say that roster has been maximized necessarily. And again, I think there's real roster spots to play. And there's tons of, it's not just Tua that's been hurt. The defense has been absolutely devastated with injuries. So that's why I'm saying there's like real things in here to be like, if there was a case where McDaniels needs a new job, like if Rem and Sam, or if it was a Rem and Sam front office situation, the first ever double GM. Oh, Richardson, what just happened, chat? Sorry. Jeez, I don't know. Was that Richardson that threw the pass? Hopefully it wasn't. Hopefully it was a trick play. Assuming our imaginary GM role for Tua, we were half paying attention to this Colts thing. Oh, disaster, chat. I think disaster has just struck for the Colts. I think, oh man, it's Anthony Richardson just undone all his goodwill. What just happened? Penalty on the Broncos? Are we going to get lucky, chat? Oh, okay, good. Is this the play that just happened? Okay, it was Mitchell that threw the pick. Good. It was Adonai. Not that the pick is good. A pick six is good, but it was not Anthony Richardson. Like I said, that the pick was from the sideline into the middle of the field, so I was 80% confident, wasn't it? But is that good, chat? Does that say something about Richardson? That a pass from the sideline into the back, like the guy was standing on the sideline behind the line of scrimmage, throwing it back behind the line of scrimmage into the middle of the field. And as I was half paying attention, half ranting, I thought it was like, is that Richardson doing something again? But I mean, I believed him enough to know it wasn't. Oh, geez, Mitchell! No, well, not again. Adonai Mitchell, what happened? Is this the play? Okay. Okay, chat. We've got to get it under control. We've got to settle down. They're calling it a fumble. Benito for the pick six. Shout out to Nick Benito, though. he's been going crazy this year. I feel like the last month or two, he's been making a play a game where big sack. I feel like he had a big sack or a big fumble recovery a couple of games ago. 11 sacks on the year. What a hit. 64th overall, 22 draft. Yeah, against Cleveland last week, he had a sack. I mean, look at this, chat. He's had a sack every week except for the first 2 weeks and then week 9. An insane run. And he's only playing, I know the defensive percentages can be a little, like defensive linemen especially, maybe a little different than offensive, but, you know, he's playing 55 to 65% of the snaps. He's playing about half the time. 10 of the last 11 games, chat, with a sack. And then, yeah, he had the, oh, so yeah, he did have that 7. Yeah, that was last week against the Browns. Yeah. Jameis, he had that 71-yard pick. But, I mean, yeah, he's just been a menace all year getting to the quarterback. Can we get a little PFF on Benito? Where's he ranked at right now, chat? Is PFF putting respect on Benito's name? That's really what we're checking. We're not trying to... It's not, is Benito validated by PFF? It is PFF validated themselves by saying, is Benito having a great season? Let's see here. Got to be top 15, right? Top 20? Benito versus Verse, chat? Let's see what we got. Surtain, shout out, #1 quarterback in the league. 23! Top 25 edge rusher in the league. I think that's fair, chat. I think that's fair. And again, the edge rusher is a really stacked position. So I think 23, especially for that snap count as well, too. Let's see what... I feel like we've done this before, but... Sometimes you got to go over it twice, chat, to remember. Like, what is... Oh, geez, chat. Wi-Fi. Should we look at, like, what is a guy like... Myles Garrett, of course. You know, best defensive lineman in the league, arguably. What is his snap count? Percentage-wise. Are we in the 70s? So, yeah, he's 70 to 80%. 3 downs, 4 downs. You know, the quote-unquote always out there type guy. What about... Oh, I was going to look up Karlaftis. What about, like, Chris Jones? Defensive... Oh, not Chris Harris. Chris Jones? Can we get a quick pivot? Oh, clutch, chat. Oh. I thought we got it in. Pause. Let's see. And make no mistake, I feel like Chris Jones maybe appreciates a good break. I mean, yeah, he's 80% a couple years ago, 73. So, yeah, he's 70 plus for his career as well, too. So, for his usage, I feel like that's pretty good. Rashawn Gary versus Benito. I feel like you could put his name in the mix now. And I guess maybe the run defense stuff. We'll get into the all 22. Maybe next week, chat, tune in for the Nick Benito breakdown. Right now, it's just Nick Benito corner. Let's see. Can we go like pressures, chat? Don't roast us for the slow Wi-Fi, chat. This computer's... Oh, geez. Roast us for clicking the wrong stuff and slowing down the process even more. It's not the computer's fault. It's doing a lot of work. We demand a lot from the laptop, chat. It powers through the best we can. I'm sure Pro Football Reference is cooking right now, too. The middle of a hot 3 o'clock slate. Can't get any busier than this. But did that uphold, chat? We got the Benito talk distracted us. Did they uphold that, or did they Broncos just go down and score again anyways? Regardless, it's 24-13. So Anthony Richardson's magic is really going to be tested. But make no mistake, it's going to be Anthony Richardson because they've committed to him. Flacco will not be subbing in this game. Regardless, and again, that's not Richardson's fault. I feel like people are going to start talking about, oh, and the Colts just had another disastrous play. So, like, well, Adonai Mitchell, the receiver, threw a pick six to the running back. Or linebacker, whoever. Benito, defensive lineman. Benito's 9th right now overall in total pressures. 11 sacks with Henderson leading the league with 12.5. He's got to be tied for second or third. Tied for second with Myles Garrett. Benito's the best lineman in the league. So we can't have Adonai Mitchell throwing passes around Benito. That's for sure. Wow, Greenard and Danielle Hunter. What a move. I don't know if this counts as a win for Houston because Greenard is a little bit cheaper, but still the upgrade barely working. 10.5 sacks. What are we at? 32 to 29 or 32 to 30 pressures for Hunter. Greenard maybe a little better. Whoa. Who knows? Watt, of course. Lawrence, yeah, if we're talking, we got to include the tackles. Lawrence, Chris Jones. Quinnen Williams, 6 sacks this year. Where's he been at? Let's see. I feel like he could still be in the mix, but I feel like the penetration has not been the same for Williams as it has been in the past. 21st, chat. And that's for defensive interior linemen. So his grade on the season a little worse than Benito's, of course. Hutchinson, best lineman in the league when he's out there. Maybe behind TJ Watt. TJ Watt probably still. Or Garrett. I mean, it's one of those three guys. Aaron Donald still, chat. We just have to keep Aaron Donald. I feel like Aaron Donald could just step back into the league and be a top 5 defensive lineman. So, I mean, can we just keep his name in the mix? Shout out. But Van Ginkel, we have to put respect on Van Ginkel's name. Of course, that Minnesota defense been balling out. But Benito making game-changing plays. In the 2022 draft as well, too. Let's see. Is that the Hutchinson draft? I think so. Hutch and Walker. So, wow, maybe in the redraft, Trayvon Walker not even going over Hutch. And Stingley versus Sauce? I mean, is that a little underrated storyline as well, too, chat? Houston taking Stingley over Sauce. I mean, did that look like... I mean, year one, of course, we know what that looked like, even though I think the real Stingley people were like, hey, wait a second. Even if Sauce is the best corner in the league, like, Stingley's still going to be pretty good. We got to give this guy a shot. But, I mean, this year, Stingley had the game-sealing interception in that play in that game today as well, too. I think did he have 2 picks today overall? But in that last drive, a jump ball versus Tyreek Hill, which, of course, maybe Tyreek Hill's number one skill set is not going after, you're not high pointing a pass with him. He's, Hopkins is a little undersized as well. I was going to say he's not Hopkins. But I guess Hopkins' ability to high point the ball as an undersized guy is probably a little bit better than Tyreek Hill's. But not, Megatron, Andre Johnson, of course, either. But anyways, he is back in the mix for if you were actually doing the redraft scenario. That pick might actually hold up as. And it's like one spot. Say, even if you flip him one spot. It's no disrespect either way. But the conversation is still back for both those guys, Sauce Gardner and Stingley, I think, for who is the better guy. And Sauce had a game-sealing pick as well today, too. So, again, both of them right on par with each other. But this is a nice group of names here, chat, for this 2022 pass rusher class. And look at Trayvon Walker. Look at him go. So, I don't know if there's a snap count thing with Walker. Benito and Thibodeau. I feel like Thibodeau's been maybe some injuries. But yeah, he had 10 sacks last year, chat. And he's at 8.5 this year. So maybe he's able to pass it. The touchdown? Trayvon Walker? Good pick. I mean, he's on the field. Is Hutch out there? Is Trayvon Walker What are we looking for here, chat? Snap count. So yeah, I guess he is a little higher than Benito. So I think eye test, Benito's making more game-changing plays than maybe Trayvon Walker is. But it's not like that's... I mean, I guess it is totally crazy, chat, because like we're saying, Hutchinson is the best defensive lineman in the league, potentially. So that's a yikes. But, Trayvon Walker's not a wash, chat. I mean, he's right in the mix. And Karlaftis, he's a proven playoff guy at this point. He'll probably make another playoff sack or two this year. Benito, like we're saying. And Thibodeau was like, could he be the number 1 overall guy in that class? And he's still, top 5 is not... Yeah, he's right in that mix. I don't know if you take him over any of these guys at this point, but him at number 5 is like, this is a good, solid class. Thibodeau's a good defensive lineman, for sure. I would love to take Thibodeau. If I could trade for Thibodeau, Ballard, what would it cost? But that was the other thing about this draft too, chat, is even if you liked Hutch over Walker, it was like, okay, is there a actual stalwart guy like that in the league? Like, of course, Hutch has gotten to Myles Garrett levels in terms of impact now, but going into the draft, we didn't go, okay, is there that Myles Garrett upside guy? And it's not even the safety thing as well too, because that's what helps with the defensive lineman maybe going that high in a draft where it is like a Myles Garrett or Jadeveon Clowney situation as well too. But it's like, for those guys, it was, maybe the baseline opportunity we get with this guy is he's still going to be solid. And like Clowney has actually been like a solid, it's actually been kind of true. And I know maybe that's not quite as appealing as you would want if you're a team. And Clowney's been up and down. Like there's been some consistency stuff with him as well. But, for most part, he's been a solid defensive rotation lineman / Pro Bowl guy for the majority of his career. But unfortunately for the Jags, Hutchinson, like we're saying, has ascended to that top-notch, real first-team All-Pro level type pro. What else can we switch here, chat? We got Knicks Magic on halftime. I guess it's Wizards Celtics. Unfortunately, we can't second screen the Spurs until the red zone coverage is over. I guess we may be second screening the Spurs on our own time in a little bit later, but that's okay because Minnesota's up 5-0. So we may need to watch this game in by ourselves, isolated, under a blanket, chat. An early playoff battle, both those teams fighting for 500, fighting for that last play-in spot. And the Bills hang 40 on the Lions. So a real, like we're saying, a punch in the mouth game for the Lions. So I know that, of course, now the Bills are going to take the Lions' spot as the best team in the league, which is a real, I guess, an important storyline. This is a little bit of a belt game, as well as it is like a Super Bowl preview. There is a league standing sort of. There's a pride thing here on the line as well too. We're going forward. The Bills can kind of puff their chest a little bit because they beat the Chiefs as well too. And I know that excuse me, Chad. That might not mean anything until they actually are able to get a win in the playoffs against Pat Mahomes. But again, the pride that you can have in the regular season after beating these top end teams, because I know the Ravens game may not be a game that they want to look back on either. But again, the Chiefs are your main competition in the AFC from a morale standpoint, from just a legacy standpoint, from a standard-bearing standpoint. Maybe not from an overall roster standpoint, but maybe still, of course. It's close, but they're, of course, the number one team that you have to worry about in the AFC. And then the Lions, up to this point, would be the number one team that you would have to worry about in the NFC. And I still think that's the case, even with how the Eagles look. The Lions have just been too good this year, Chad. And that's what we're saying. Like, a punch-in-the-mouth game is good for them. Because I think we were saying that a couple weeks ago. Maybe it was this last game, the last game they played after the Packers, because after that Thursday night game, because the injuries have started to pile up a little bit for this team on defense. They've really been, they've just been one of the more locked-in, high-effort teams this year and just really giving it their all on the field. And, that's just going to catch up to you physically, mentally at some point. Like, it's science, Chad. If you're exerting your body more physically, pause on the field in the regular season, is that more likely to catch up with you in the playoffs versus like we were kind of saying with the Chiefs, do they know the pace of the regular season? And Mahomes, like we're saying, went down today with an injury. And Richardson just threw a pick to Surtain. That one was not on Adonai Mitchell. Tough, people. Oh, holding on the offense. It's not going to matter. Was Richardson back in the gym early this week, chat? Has he resorted to the old habits? I mean, like we're saying, the Broncos defense is one of the best. They're on the road. Just getting the better of him today. On the out route, tough route. Surtain probably just sitting there underneath. Off the receiver. Oh, he's stunted toward his guy. Yeah. Richardson, brother. It's tough, people. It's tough. It's just what it is. But what were we saying anyways about the... Oh, yeah, the Lions getting punched in the mouth. Like, they do need it a little bit. They need it. They haven't had it yet. That one loss earlier in the season was on them having a bad performance, not necessarily them getting, beaten up by a team. And it's going to be good for him to have that happen before the playoffs, before they face the Eagles, and the Eagles get them on the ropes a little bit. Not that this team wouldn't be prepared for playoff level football. They had the run last year. That was a close conference championship game that they could have won. And I think they're prepared, even if they didn't have a close games. If they had gone out and dominated the Bills, of course, we're going to feel great about the line. So there's that too. But this is fine. This is fine. They're due for another loss. It does make the playoff seeding a little bit more interesting, though. Now, of course, the Eagles have a better shot. The Packers, if they win tonight, I guess, they got swept already, right, by the Lions. The Lions just have the Vikings left, so maybe the Vikings are the only one that could steal the division. I guess if the records work out with the Packers have a better record, of course, they would win the division. But if it's a tiebreaker situation, the Vikings are the only one that could potentially hold the tiebreaker over the Lions, maybe, versus the Packers. But that can make their road to the Super Bowl a little bit more interesting as well, too. But even still, the Lions is a 2 seed. I guess this is an important month of the season. Who knows what happens? If this is a burnout stretch for the Lions or a stretch where they turn or teams start to figure them out or whatever, who knows? And the Lions are on pace. The Lions are driving here. The Lions could put up 30 on their own right. We're saying a couple of good stops by the Bills defense. You just have to give them credit. But the Bills could easily hang 50 here. The offense is really great. And, of course, the Manning comparison contrast to Mahomes and Allen, if you're looking at that Super Bowl where Manning was able to break through, and the parallels you can start to see where the talent on the Patriots team that year compared to the talent on the teams before, the surrounding cast, was not the best. And maybe, I do think that this Chiefs team, just in general, you'd probably rather have this Chiefs team than that Patriots team, just because of, Chris Jones and the defense anyways that the Patriots have. But they had a rushing touchdown today. The Chiefs did. And it wasn't even really a rushing touchdown. It was like a screen pass or maybe like a lateral or something. But it was like a passing play that was technically chalked up as a rushing touchdown. And they said it was their first rushing touchdown in over a month. And again, it still wasn't even a rushing touchdown. So that was earlier in the game. I guess I don't know what transpired, how they scored the rest of their touchdowns. Let's see, chat. Did they have any more rushing touchdowns? Where is that Chiefs box score? They won 21-7. No, Worthy just had the one. But Kareem Hunt was 13 for 45. Pacheco, 13 for 32. The Chiefs just don't have a run game, chat. And, watching them today, Allen, the brilliance of this stretch, and they're, beating better teams than the Chiefs are beating as well. The Lions, the Rams last week. I guess they didn't beat the Rams last week. Allen, it felt like a win with as good as he was playing. But, Mahomes was a little up and down earlier in the season too, so that was kind of and we were saying it, it was from a perception standpoint, from a watching it standpoint, it was like, okay, this whole thing is definitely not going great. But look at the, I mean, yeah, look at the running earlier in the season of 150, 128, 140 versus the Saints. Like, it was something that they were going to and relying on as part of the offense. But 82 versus the Raiders, 57 versus the Broncos, 78 versus the Bills, 63 again versus the Raiders, the 96 last game versus the Chargers. So since they're by, yeah, only the three. Fortunately, the Niners, they were able to crush them on the ground with almost 200 yards, 184. But Mahomes now, what he's been carrying for this team the last couple of weeks is, from an MVP standpoint, not that, of course, Mahomes has like necessarily earned his name back in or just over the last couple of weeks, but he kind of has as well, too. Like, Mahomes gets to be in the conversation because he's Mahomes. But, of course, like we were saying, he was kind of unfairly in the conversation in the early part of the season. Like, when Mahomes was actually leading in MVP voting, he was less worthy than he is now. But now that... And maybe it's just a value thing. But, again, with that lack of a running game... And, yeah, still had a couple of costly picks in that Buffalo game. So, like we're saying, I know Chiefs fans are not maybe as worried because of the playoff history against that team. But let's see here. Tampa and Denver are both playoff teams, but that Carolina-Vegas stretch as well, too. Like, that's just not going to hold up like maybe Rams-Lions would comparatively on the schedule. But Mahomes, 12 picks, 2 interceptions the last 6 weeks. 256 yards a game, 67%. The 98 QB rating is not like historic, but I think he's definitely been, of course, playing better, but his responsibility, like, he is a little, and he always is like the running ability, of course, for him. And when Josh Allen gets the credit for the dual threat, it's like, well, Mahomes in the big moments is still, making plays with his legs when he needs to as well. But he is definitely carrying this offense a little bit. Not just a little bit. Like, I think he is back on, he needs to be in the MVP ballot. This is why Mahomes is special. I mean, make no mistake. He reminds us, people. He reminds us. Let's see where the MVP odds are at right now. Is FanDuel that crazy? No, they don't have him up at this moment. They don't have Super Bowl matchup odds either. Do they? No, so we can't see what the potential Super Bowl odds are on a Bucs-Chargers Super Bowl. But the Lions going down scoring again? Getting a little frisky here, Detroit? Not going away? But we'll see where Mahomes lands in the MVP thing after this. Because I guess this game is a little MVP as well, too. Not just the pride and the Super Bowl regular season stuff, preview stuff. Like, Goff, if he gets this win, now has to be, 31-13. We're going on. Different game, chat. Moving on. Next. Okay, if they're a stop and a big play away from making this kind of interesting. Still hanging around. And it did look like in the third quarter a little bit. Was there a feeling of it's just not our day? Maybe, our record's already so good at this point. I know the NFC is still competitive, but if it's not our day, it's just not our day. And no, the Lions with their backs to the wall. Trying to fight. Do they think it's the NBA Cup? Do they think points matter? Point differential? Does the NFL need an NFL Cup? Whoa. In-season flag football tournament. Rename the Pro Bowl games to the NFL Cup. Maybe that's the trick. It'll fool them into thinking it's important. Sponsored by some other airline, maybe. Or other Saudi company. I don't know. But could we see Josh Allen finish off the Lions here? And they haven't necessarily got a stop yet. Have they even forced a punt, chat? Has it been a touchdown on every drive? One punt on the day. Wow. Almost 500 yards. Almost 1,000 yards combined of offense, chat. We are in for a fun one. The Bills are now just, I mean, unquestionably the most entertaining team of 20, at least, you know, the back half of the season. The post-Thanksgiving MVPs for entertainment value. Definitely the Bills are the number one team in consideration for that right now. But Eagles as well, doubling up the Steelers, 27-13. Can we get A.J. Brown in the MVP conversation? I mean, A.J., people want to get Barkley love, and I get it for the stat line, but is he even the MVP on his own team? A.J. Brown. The defensive line playing better. Is Quinyon Mitchell the MVP of the Eagles? Eagles fans, who is the MVP? Let us know. Is it Hurts? Is it Sirianni after all? Are we back in on Sirianni? Sirianni might be the first coach that, like, gets impeached. I don't even know what that means, but just being, like, in the middle of being successful, but it's just like, scandal vibes. Are they going to give him a secretary, try to plant some scandals, chat? What's going to happen with Sirianni and the Eagles? It doesn't feel like the Eagles fans are buying in, even though they're playing well. But maybe we need to get back on the Eagles Reddit. Back on the Eagles blog. See if the vibes are changing. Maybe the belief in Hurts will change today. Oh, the one-handed catch by... Was that Knox? Knox for Buffalo. Making a big grab. 22 yards in the gain, chat. Oh, tipping it to himself, one-handed, beautiful. The hand-eye. I mean, soft touch by Allen, of course, but great catch. Is that the good hands play of the day? Should we see what Red Zone says at the end? And make no mistake, Wizards. Come on, Wizards, 16.5. We need you to keep it close. Versus Boston. The Wizards are one of those teams, I don't know, for some reason, when you see them at like 15.5, you just go. At like 15 or more for any game, maybe Boston's the one team you should not. But but a lot of times it's like, you know, the Wizards, they can keep it close, right? And I guess not at the end of the game as well, too. If there's like a, could we bet the spread after 3 quarters? I know you can bet the third quarter in the individual quarter spreads, but can you bet the spread of a game after a certain point? Where it's like, okay, the Celtics, now it's time to go. Now it's time to be serious. Get this win. But I guess even the third quarter spread wouldn't be that good at this point. But I guess it is 14. So technically still covering. Come on. I guess we just need it for closer for our own mental standpoint. Oh, the steal. There we go. Poole. Ripping Holiday. Taking his spot in the league. Taking his possession. Koulibaly. Turnover by Washington. Speaking of turnovers, Anthony Richardson back on the court. Oh, they cut away. Okay. Yeah, the Bills offense already to the 17-yard line. They cannot be stopped, chat. I guess that 22-yard play. Oh, Josh Allen followed it up with another 22-yard play. How many 20-plus yarders have they had today? It's been a big play machine all day for the Bills offense. Crazy, chat. Craziness. But, yeah, we mentioned the Dolphins game, right? The Ravens game, does it even need mentioning? I thought that DeVito got benched, but shout out. Hopefully he's doing okay. He got concussed. And then they brought in Tim Boyle. Tim Boyle is like the ultimate just 2K generated quarterback. The Madden generated quarterback. He's just the generic guy you throw in there when it's like, okay, everything else is... It just the unrecognizable. At least DeVito, like there was some name recognizability, whatever the word is, chat. Like he had some name value because of some of the story stuff that he had. And what, he was 10 for 13 today? DeVito cooking a little bit? Only 68 yards. But Tim Boyle is just the immediate, oh, he's in the game. That game will get about 0 minutes of watch time. Shout out to Tim Boyle. It's just what it is, though. There's, playoff implications and other stuff going on. But Lamar, brilliant today. The Ravens, they can play down to a team. Make no mistake. So they go out. They dominate the Giants as well. But the Bengals get a good win over the Titans. But there was a stretch early in this game where I was like, okay, maybe the Bengals are tanking or something. Like, what is actually going on here? Like, their defense actually can't be this bad. The end of the first quarter, it was 7-14 Titans. And I think the Bengals were driving at that point with the chance to score. But, and then, they ended up tying it up. So, I mean, that's the biggest that the lead ever got for Tennessee was just that one touchdown. And again, with the possession math, it's like, was it really even? They were up one score. They would have had to get the stop to really make it more interesting. But just it's going to be like, okay, is this going to be a shootout against the Titans? And the Titans are just going to be able to drive up and down the field. And make no mistake, the Titans did a little bit. The Titans were able to move the ball. It's just the Titans are just not able to. They refuse to actually successfully complete a drive. There will be a turnover. There will be a penalty. There will be something that they do that just stalls their offense. But, I mean, they are capable of getting plays, of course. So it's like, okay, are they going to be a feisty team? They've got some dudes on defense. Jeffrey Simmons, of course, is a stud. But it's like, okay, if the defense is actually going to give up this kind of game to Tennessee, then maybe they're doing something. Maybe there's something fishy going on that we don't know about. Do they need one more top 15 pick or something? Like a mini tank? I don't even know. But especially with the offense being this good, like the offense is the best in the league from a stats standpoint. It's not like Burrow's like clearing everybody in yards. He's not going to get catched. Chase is not going to get catched in yards. Chase Brown has been dominant in fantasy as of late. So we know it's the story of the Bengals season, but it smelled fishy early. Something was up. But they corrected it. Went on to get a, pretty good win against Tennessee. So I guess they kind of maintain in the mix a little bit, especially with, I guess if Denver gets the win, though, they continue to stay one win ahead of them. Weirdly, I think, Indy getting the win, even though that would still put them as more wins than Cincinnati, maybe that evening the race would be kind of a help for them. But go see somebody on Twitter, X, whatever, Insta, not TikTok, somebody on TikTok while it's still around. We'll have the scenarios broken down for sure. But we also had, that Jets-Jags game, like we mentioned, 32-25. Rodgers, is he better at 41 than he is at 40? He hasn't been, disastrous the last couple of weeks. 120 QB rating day. Oh, he was cooking. I know he had the 3 touchdowns, but, 16-30 is okay. For 300 yards, though, so I guess 19 yards a pass, chucking it down the field. A lot of, I guess he had a couple of nice plays to Adams. Yeah, Adams was on fire today. 200 yards. Couldn't be stopped. And Mac Jones couldn't be stopped talking, chat. Mac Jones was just one of the all-time, smack talk games against the Jets. In the first half, he was basically just Reggie Miller, to Spike Lee grabbing his nuts to this whole, just every play he was making. It's like, okay, you're 3-10 and you're the backup quarterback in the game. The team's trying to fall apart. They don't even want you playing well. You're not even going to do this for a full game. What are you celebrating for? It's like, nope, doesn't matter. I will get mine while I can. And I guess he had more yards than Rodgers. He had the 2 picks, though. So, make no mistake, in the second half, the defense was fired up to get him. But just maybe the most annoying quarterback in the league, chat. I know that's not necessarily a hot take at this point, but you can imagine why maybe some of the locker room stuff was the way it was in New England at the end there. I think, you see how Drake May conducts himself just in general. And we're not like an old school, you need to, suit and tie, strong handshake type of guy. Drake May, family man, 9 to 5, home every night to see the kids. Like, that's not what we're talking about. We're just saying, like, there's a vibe around Drake May that you watch Mac Jones literally trying to get under the skin of every, 80,000 people in the stands, in the facility, in the arena, plus people watching. Somehow Mac Jones has annoyed everybody. But still, for Jacksonville, I think ultimately keeping them in the mix at 3-11 for that top draft pick is what they want. Carolina, like we said, shout out to Bryce Young for returning to form. I guess Anthony Richardson, is it just return to form week for some of these guys where the hype was starting to turn back around? I guess the question becomes for Bryce Young is, did Daniel Jones set the standard for quarterback performance in terms of bringing him back? Like, was this 4 to 5 week stretch by Bryce Young enough if the last month of the season is kind of mid from our boy to, for Carolina to kind of stay with Bryce Young going into next season? And I know maybe from the draft standpoint that at least from the first round, their best bet would be to pass on QB. Maybe they'd be a later bring a guy in just to see what could happen type of team. But is this enough, Panthers fans, to give you confidence? I mean, the answer is probably no. Because I think ideally as, Daniel Jones, as we see these other quarterbacks, I think the hope would be to learn from them and to be able to fix our mistakes sooner and all that stuff. But we did see Bryce Young have some big moments against some good teams, Kansas City and Philly. He was having drives to, basically beat both those teams. He had that drive against Tampa to take the lead, and then unfortunately the defense wasn't able to get a stop, and they weren't able to clinch the win in overtime either. But how much did you need to see from Bryce Young this year, chat, to stay confident in him as a quarterback? Because like we're saying, like the Colts have just won too many games. Like, they're obviously not going to draft a quarterback in the first round, or I think just in general, maybe later, chat. I could see Ballard getting frisky with like a 6th or 7th round guy, maybe just to put a little pressure on Richardson as well too. Having a veteran guy there like Flacco is one thing, but a young guy, when it's not just, they're bringing in competition. It's like, they're bringing in this kind of, they're looking in the draft. They're looking at the next group of guys. And we're headed to the middle of the field to shake hands. The Broncos continue to lock in their playoff case against one of their potential wild card foes. Other teams in the mix. A very dominant win. And able to kind of solve that Colts defense as well, too, in the second half. I guess Bonito putting up points on the board, not helping out the Colts as well. But what did Bo Nix finish with in this game? Because that first couple of drives, it really did look like early season Jets, Bo Nix just dropping back, totally oblivious, chucking it right to the defender. But I think overall, 3 picks, chat. A yikes day for Bo Nix, 130 yards. Not even really able to get much going on the ground game. So shout out to the Indy offense for basically gifting this game to the Broncos. Incredible, chat. 21 fourth quarter points by Denver as it just falls apart. Is this after the 60? Oh, that was Mims on the punt return. Yeah, that set up the touchdown. So, yeah, the special teams play and the interception is basically what turned this game for Denver. Made it 24-13. And then what was before that, chat? They had the field goal to make it, yeah. Special teams, and then the Colts. Steichen. I don't know if you can blame the game plan. I mean, it's just, a great play by the defender to break in and get that pass. But also, what kind of level of awareness do you want from, I guess, can you expect from your receiver in that situation? But if you're going to run that play, you better be coached up in all scenarios. So guess it is what it is. But Tampa Bay turning it on in the second half. Pause. 27 unanswered in the second half. 40-17 over the Chargers. We'll have to go back in. Was it Herbert limping around? He was only able to get to 195. Bucky Irving just gashing. Pause. The Chargers defense. McConkey was playing well early. 5 for 58. He got a touchdown on that first drive. But Mike Evans. Whoa, Mike Evans with the day. How many fantasy points from our boy Evans? It's been a minute. I feel like repaying fantasy owners at this time in the season is really going to help his nostalgia case as well, too, for the 2024 year, because he had such an impressive early run, and it's like, wow, once again, Mike Evans, I'm getting this incredible value. He still manages to do it. Mike Evans and Jerry Rice are the two best receivers of all time when it comes to longevity. And then he kind of, dropped off a little bit there. Injuries, of course, as well, but playoff time pulling through with a 40-point, 38, almost 40 points from Mike Evans today. Shout out. So Bills Lions is all that we've got left. Everything else has gone final today. And the Lions down 13 with 2 minutes. Probably not going to make a comeback. Oh, red zone is cut off the coverage. Shout out to Scott Hansen. It was good seeing you. Another Sunday. But time to move on. Just in case Detroit is not have like the miracle of miracles up its sleeve. I mean, how lucky is this really Detroit's season, chat? I guess this will put it to the test. I don't know if this is a Detroit season type of win because they went out and dominated. I think this is definitely it can be their season. And maybe their confidence in them this season is higher than it's ever been. But if Detroit randomly makes a 13-point comeback with 2 minutes left, it's like, yeah, this is their season. Just give them the Super Bowl now and cancel the rest of the season to make sure everybody stays healthy. I guess all the money we'd lose for not playing the Super Bowl and just calling this the Super Bowl would be crazy. And the league, we should probably cut that out because the league is going to do some dangerous stuff if they start getting ideas of losing that game. But all we're saying is it would be a dominant win. Not a dominant win, but impressive win for a dominant Lions team. And it doesn't really look like they're moving with the urgency of getting a win. I mean, I know it's a long shot, like we're saying. They know the bigger picture here. Shout out the bigger picture! But they are probably going to be seeing a second loss on their loss column here. So, which game were we mentioning there, chat? I forget before we got sidetracked. Jets, Jags, Panthers, Cowboys. So yeah, Cowboys going into the game plus 100, plus 2.5. I mean, lock that in as the Panthers are going to drop that money line. But Dan Rizzi, I don't know, really trying to rizz up the league, I guess, with some fancy play calling, going for 2 at the end of the game to try to beat the Commanders. And, it's fun. Their record's not very good. They're probably not going to be in the playoffs. Might as well just get aggressive and to go for the win. No need to extend the game into overtime like we're saying. But it's one of those things where like, oh, yeah, I like the move. Okay, he's got the guts. Let's do it. And then they run the play, and it was like really kind of a poorly ran play. Not really that well in terms of creating an opportunity, and just kind of died out so fast. And it was like, oh, wait, the game's over actually now? Maybe we should have gone to overtime and just played it safe. But again, with them being kind of a mid team, I like it. Just what's overtime going to do for us, really? What are we going to risk our chances of getting hurt? We came to win this in 4 quarters. Let's win it or lose it in 4 quarters. We got to play. We'll take the opportunity. But fortunately for Jaden Daniels, I guess, Bo Nix did not look necessarily great in the win today against the Colts, because Daniels did, from a stat standpoint, look good. I know it was kind of a conservative day overall. And again, they only put up 20 points, but 25 of 31, 226, 2 touchdowns, no picks, 118 QB rating. It's going to look good on paper going back toward the season. They got the win overall. So maybe, I know Allen kind of already clinched the MVP last week. Maybe Goff got back in the mix a little bit with the win here. But, I mean, Allen definitely locks in the MVP now. So maybe Jaden Daniels kind of locks in Rookie of the Year as well. I don't know. I guess a couple of big games from Bo Nix could definitely power him back as well. But also on... Oh, is that it for the slate, chat? Is that it for the slate of games? I think it might be. Oh, well, a couple of things we should mention. I know we should... I said we were going to talk Jimmy Butler trades, but we may save that, chat. We should have put DeAndre Hunter... Or not DeAndre Hunter. Travis Hunter winning the Heisman. I think that's the first time anybody's confused those two guys. But shout out to Travis Hunter for winning the Heisman, beating out G&T. And there was a part of me that really wanted to give it to G&T just because, you know, a historic season as well that he was having. It's like, well, how come that didn't get rewarded in that way as well? But honestly, like, I forget which legend I saw tweet it, but in like seeing the post for the reactions for him winning the award online, it's like, you know, legends react to Travis Hunter winning the MVP. And again, I forget which. I think it might have been like Mark Ingram or one of those running backs that won the Heisman for Bama. But they were like, you know, Travis Hunter forever immortalized winning the Heisman. You know, congrats. And for some reason, just phrasing it that way was like, okay, you know what? Maybe Travis Hunter, and not that it's like a maybe situation. Like, yeah, I mean, his performance was absolutely impressive. Both performances were impressive enough to win the Heisman. It's just, you know, which one do you want to pick? And it is really which one do, at the end of the day, you know, when it turns into a situation like that, it does kind of become which one do you want to immortalize? And I think it's kind of interesting because I'm like, with the Grammys, like I feel like maybe Best Rap Album might be a little bit like that this year, where we've got a field where you kind of have a case for a couple albums and you go, okay, I don't know if it's egregious either way if something wins here. I forget. I remember what we got. Future, J. Cole, Doechii are nominated. Who are the other two, chat? Why do I forget? Why am I blanking on the other two nominations? Oh, Common got the one, and then who else? Who got the fifth? Common got the fifth. Future, J. Cole, Doechii. It wasn't, geez, chat. Who was it? This is embarrassing. Who was the fifth? Oh, Eminem! Okay. Okay, maybe that's not why. That's why. So outside of Eminem, I think, you know, there's a strong case for, you know, four of these albums potentially to make a run at it. So it just, again, becomes kind of like, which one do we want to put into history with this group? And not that it becomes that, like the award, you know, it's this against its field and what's the best one against its peers. And it's like, okay, is Travis, like, yeah, Travis Hunter, you can make the case, had the best season amongst his peers of any person in college football. But with as close as G&T played, it could go either way. And I do think that if you look at this season and go, what is the one player performance that we want to offer to like history as a representative of the 2024 season? The Travis Hunter two-way performance and how good he was at that this year. And also just, you know, how captivating that was to the college football landscape, but just his dominance at the two-way and playing as much as he did as well. I do think that it's fair. I am not reluctantly, but, you know, I came around to it, chat, pause. I know Travis Hunter, of course, was dominant, and the voting was close as well, too. It's not like he just ran away with the Heisman overall. I think the total votes were pretty close. But ends up getting the win. And I think it was more interesting that he got the win for the individual awards as well, too. Because, again, the overall two-way performance was special. And it's that combination of things that kind of get, and not to take away from the individual things, but of course the combination of things is what elevates him over a guy like Ginty. Because, I think Ginty had a better running back season than Travis Hunter did receiving season or corner season, individually. If this was just Travis Hunter, the receiver, versus Ginty probably wins. And if it was Travis Hunter, the corner, versus Ginty, then, Hunter or Ginty probably also wins that as well. And I know that Travis Hunter is definitely the number one skill guy in the draft right now, of course. And as he should be. But who else was in the mix, chat? Let's see here. So McMillan is, I think, the other big name that is going to be interesting. And that's going to be fun come draft time. And I don't think it's like way off. It's not like, is Travis Hunter the 8th best receiver in the class and the 10th best corner? Like, is he the second or third in either category, and you draft him over all those guys and you just get a really special talent in general that you can use in multiple ways. Yeah, maybe number one overall player on the board is, I think, totally appropriate. But you've got McMillan at 4, Will Johnson at 7. Like, it's close. McMillan this year, almost leading the league in receiving yards. I guess Nick Nash, shout out. 1382 and 16 touchdowns. I can't imagine somebody had more than that. I guess Italic, he's leading. But is 14 the next closest? Wow, Travis Hunter. So, yeah, converting points is just as important. Where's he at yards per game wise? Is he just in the mix? So 8th in yards per game. Where was he at total yards? What was the difference? Let's see here, chat. 6th? Okay, so he's higher in total yards than he is in yards per game. So I think the yards and touchdowns combined, maybe outside of Nick Nash, again, just individual seasons. Yeah, maybe Nick Nash should have won this award, chat. That is kind of crazy. 16 touchdowns, a couple more yards. Again, we're not hot taking it. Did Travis Hunter steal the award from Nick Nash? It's like, no, Travis Hunter had an amazing season, and if he gets rewarded in as many ways as possible, we're not going to be the ones hot taking complaining about it. We're just saying that it is interesting that they also awarded him individually as well, too. I didn't know if they would do that or not. But also his name recognition versus probably Nick Nash is a little bit higher as well, too. So, not that, of course, that would be a part of it. We're not claiming that at all. Why would we? Do they just have team defense on here? They don't have individual defensive stats? Chat, what's up with this? Oh, well, they'll have the leaders. Let's see here. Can we go for this season here? This should at least give us a top 20. And was he doing a little in the kick return as well? Touchdowns responsible for John Mateer out of Washington State. Shout out. 41, Cam Ward. Shador Saunders with 39 as well, too. Ginty with 30. Carson Beck in the mix. Don't forget about Carson Beck, people. But, okay, let's see. Passes defended. Okay, Travis Hunter. So he is in the top leaderboard here with 11. Of course, Rayon Schrader out of Miami, Ohio, with 18 leads the league. We've got Omarion McCoy as well, too, out of Boise State. Boise State, they're actually good. Who knew? No, and they're in the playoffs. G&T, I think Boise State might be able to make some noise, and I guess with some defense in there as well. Interception return yards. Travis Hunter. Will Johnson, I think he had like a 100-yard pick six or something in there. So that is going to up his number. Where was Hunter at for total picks? 4 total picks plus the touchdowns as well. Noah Williams out of California, 7. Any names that look like they might be hot takey better? Let's see here. Xavier Watts is pretty good. I think he might be. Was he a safety? 75 on draft boards. Okay, people sleeping on Xavier Watts. Sebastian Castro out of Iowa. 5'11". Is he actually Iowa? Hometown? Oh, mock to the Colts. We'll look up later and see if he's actually a homegrown Iowa kid. Because there is a safety. I guess, did he transfer, chat? Let's see here. This is like one of the better prospects at the state of Iowa. Yeah, no, he still plays for Iowa. Xavier Nwamka. He was like a top 25 overall. Yeah, 5-star safety. Southeast Polk. That and Dowling are basically Ankeny as well too, I think maybe. But Southeast Polk as of late especially. One of the big powerhouses in terms of course, winning the state, but also putting out the prospects as you would expect that would correlate. Yeah, number 1 overall in the state, 25 nationally. One of the better recruits I'm sure that Iowa has. Comp to Derwin James by Chris Singletary on 24/7 Sports. And I thought there was rumors of transferring as well, but I guess not. Number 1 safety. Oh, yeah, I thought that was number 1 state. Let's see, here we go. Oh, yeah, number 1 Iowa. And we won't take you through the whole Iowa history. Look at it. Tight end, Eli Raridon. Also out of Des Moines. I mean, Des Moines, of course, is going to be producing in the Des Moines area. It's either Des Moines, somebody out of Des Moines, or some linebacker out of some little farm town somewhere are basically the Iowa prospects. But, yeah, 25 overall for the state. Oh, no, Quinn Ewers, not Iowa. Just to compare a little bit. Iowa in 2021, the year before Xavier Nwamka. 46, also a tight end. And then the next player, 146. Now, see, don't sleep on the boys, though. Ida Grove, Iowa, Cooper DeJean. Barely in the top 150, so I don't know if they take credit for it in some way, but they were definitely sleeping on Cooper DeJean as well, too. So we're not saying that the rankings are, of course, accurate. We're just saying that the respect the high school talent gets in the nation is not necessarily in the rankings compared to some of these other guys. But either way, of course, we're not hot taking. We're all in on Travis Hunter. Are we just a little bit salty that we bet Travis Hunter last year to win the Heisman and didn't do it this year? Maybe. Maybe we are a tiny bit, chat. It's just what it is. We were a year too early, and we knew that as well, too. We knew that I guess not technically his freshman year, but that first year in D1, it would have to be like and not even an adjustment year, chat, because he was dominant right away, but it would have to be like a adjustment for the fans, I think, for the people watching him, familiarizing and being like, oh, just this is how special it is. And he got hurt last year as well, too. So, I mean, he probably got hurt because we put we invested. And we probably jinxed him. And it just is what it is. But he gets it this year. And I don't know what those preseason odds were, but I think they were still pretty similar. I think he was like 200-1 last year. And I think he might have been triple digits at the start of this year, which is crazy. We were just like, the odds, I mean, again, at like 200-1, Travis Hunter, we were like, he could be the best player in college football last year. So we just bet him and Shadur both. And we're like, okay, we have the 2 best players in college football. Sure, we'll take that bet. Maybe both of them will hit it. Somehow both of them will hit it 100-1 and we'll just be a millionaire. But we should have done it again this year. We didn't do it. And fortunately for Travis Hunter, we didn't do it because he ultimately gets his Heisman. But what we're saying is don't sleep on McMillan. 6'5", 210, people. He's a dominant receiver. Abdul Carter in the top 5. Tankathon, are they reading our list? Are they watching the pod? I mean, this is our top 5. This might be one of our favorite top 5s in drafting history, just in like personal investment. I guess maybe not investment's the right term, but like the personal fondness I have for all these guys. Like, I love all these prospects, chat. And Abdul Carter, for a couple years, it's like we've been waiting for him to get in the league. Oh, geez. What do we do, chat? There we go. G&T is great. I mean, G&T over Will Campbell. Cam Ward, Will Johnson. Starks is good. Pierce is good. Williams, Burden, Walker. I mean, you know, we'll get into this, chat. The draft is on its way. Benjamin Morrison. The Colts better have him on the list. Let's see where he's at right now. Who has got the honor of taking Benjamin Morrison? 26 to the Packers. Ooh, a little Morrison. I just lost all my tabs on my end. Okay, here we go. I don't think it went away for you guys, but let me see. Camera back. Okay, there we go. Good value. 26, a snag. James Pierce, we would not be mad about. Ooh, G&T on the board. Just for the sexiness of having Taylor and G&T. And because we have Richardson and he might need a little bit of help. We'll see what happens in 2025, chat. Richardson will be in the gym in the offseason. We'll be all in. Richardson will be back. Carter to the Jets at 8 is not bad either. McMillan to the Titans. McMillan to the Panthers. Just do something fun, Carolina. Mason Graham is great. Derek Brown and Mason Graham would be unstoppable. But, again, yeah, shout out to Travis Hunter for locking in his Heisman for the season. Let's see. Did we get a final here on Bills-Lions? We got a final, chat. The Lions did get that last score, make it interesting. So, you know, 48-42, they're at least going to be able to have some pride in the score, in the matchup. And I think this goes down as a game where, like we were saying, I don't think they would look at this team and go, we're scared. They probably go, we didn't play up to par. I mean, look at Goff's numbers today, chat. Jeez. Even in a loss. I mean, you know, he's got us going crazy with the voice, but let's pause. 38 for 59. So 60 passes. I mean, you're going to have good stats, but 500 yards, 5 touchdowns, 0 picks. A 118.9 quarterback rating. It's just Josh Allen on the other end. 23 for 34, 362, 2 touchdowns. 68 yards through the ground, 2 touchdowns. So 4 touchdowns overall for Josh Allen. 5 for Goff. 500 yards overall for Goff. Almost 420 total for Allen. So a couple of MVP. I think that'll be the MVP ballot. Those two guys. Maybe Barkley because the Eagles are starting to play well, too. But the Bills, shout out. They'll be the team of the week. They are the best team in the league now. They get that belt for the time being. So even if you don't win the Super Bowl, Bills, this year, the Chiefs, they'll get the win in the playoffs. Mahomes, his greatness. Brady threw the pick in 07. Mahomes this year, it won't matter. He'll still make the plays. He'll get the win. The Chiefs will somehow represent the AFC in the Super Bowl. The Lions will somehow choke and lose to the, I don't know, chat, the Vikings, the Rams, somebody. The Bucks, a Chiefs-Bucks rematch. Mahomes exacts his revenge for Brady on Baker Mayfield. Gets the three-peat. It'll happen somehow, chat, because maybe Mahomes is just more special than any other quarterback we've seen. And, you know, I guess it's all in a good way. But Allen right now has ascended to the top of the NFL world in a way that I think he never has before. And I know MVP is going to be something that he's never won, but that I think just goes to show that he hasn't quite got that unanimous, yes, he is the best player in the league. And it's his time right now. It's his time. Shout out. He has put in the work to earn it. So I don't know if it's a Kendrick Lamar level type thing. Maybe it's a little futurist, chat. It's a little like future. Josh Allen has put in the work. He's had, it's the resume is great, but also it's like expansive as well too. Is the dual threat like Future dropping 3 albums, collabing and dropping mixtapes and all this stuff. And it's like, okay, Josh Allen is still probably not better than Kendrick. Or Josh Allen's still not probably better than Mahomes. Future's still not better than Kendrick, and the thing is, Future's not having a bigger moment than Kendrick this year. Like Kendrick, it's still his year. So maybe Josh Allen's a little like Tyler. It's tough though, because Kendrick is undeniably the guy this year. So is Mahomes Drake in this situation? I don't know, chat. But either way, Mahomes or whoever we're talking about right now, Josh Allen has ascended to the top of the football universe in Week 15 and dethroned the Detroit Lions. So shout out to the champ. Hopefully he's doing okay. Hopefully he'll lick his wounds. I think at 12-2 and being favored to win the Super Bowl for the last couple of weeks, big picture, I think he's still doing okay. And like we're saying, this is a Super Bowl preview matchup. So NFC playoffs, they're still probably going to be the favorite this week, but we'll see how the odds shift. Can we get a live update on the odds? Oh, geez, Chad, 60 minutes. Turn it off. The real world. But, anyways, FanDuel, quickly, we have to get off 60 minutes and go to FanDuel. If that doesn't speak to the state of America, I don't know what does, chat. Sorry. It's just what it is. But, let's see here. Did they have the conference on there? The Bills have ascended above the Lions outright to win the Super Bowl. I don't know if that changed after... I guess they did lose to the Rams last week. We have to remember that. So they probably didn't move up in the odds. But now it's Bills, Lions, Eagles, then Chiefs. Chiefs at 4th. So 5-1. Get on it now. Ravens at 8-1. Then the Vikings at 14-1. Over the Packers at 17-1. Over the Steelers at 31-1. They drop out into a other tier today. The Texans at 35-1. I don't know if that's a Super Bowl bet, chat, but AFC South bet. Ugly win today, but Stroud, they're young guys. Maybe they turn it around. I feel like that would be the AFC bet, the value. Maybe the Broncos. I don't know. Maybe we're stepping on a future episode. Maybe it'll all be hashed out in the upcoming week on the Rem and Sam Pod. So stay tuned, guys. You don't want to miss it. We'll be back later this week. We've got some more really, high-level episodes, some heavy hitter bits. It's the end of the year, so you get some heavy hitter lists. It's that time for, shout out. We already did the celebrity crush list. We stumbled through that one, so check that out if you haven't. Respectful, professional celebrity crush list for 2024. But we've got some actual lists that make more sense and are less controversial and actual lists that people are doing. But I think we may be are we going to be the first one to drop our top 10 albums of the year list? I think we might. I don't know if any of the major publications have done it. Pause. But I know a lot of the YouTubers and stuff that we follow haven't quite dipped into that yet. So obviously that would probably be this upcoming week, like we're doing it, if they were to start as well too. This would be the start of it, but maybe we're the first ones. Maybe we will get the conversation started. Let's do it, chat. Stay tuned this week. We're going to get the conversation started on the best hip-hop albums of 2024. It's just what it is. We've also got the college football playoffs starting up this week, Friday. Notre Dame, Indiana. Will we be there live? You know it, chat. So subscribe. Stay tuned. We're on just across the internet, across social media platforms at the Rem and Sam Pod. Follow us on TikTok while you still can. And if it's all the same on the other stuff. It's different, but, you can find similar stuff is what we're saying on, the other short form platforms as well, too. Instagram, all that stuff, the YouTube. So subscribe, follow the pages. We're out there, the pod pages, Spotify, Apple. Stay locked in on those as well. And stay locked in on, we still got Sunday Night Football left to go. But you know what the numbers say, the ratings. This is not the NBA, chat. You guys are actually watching Sunday Night Football. People are locked in. So we're going to go be a part of that. Part of the herd, chat. Sheep mentality. Just watch Sunday Night Football like everybody else. But maybe this will be a good one tonight. Packers, Seahawks. If it's anything like this last slate, I think we're in for maybe a continued good game here. Lions Bills, not necessarily disappointing, but anyways, that'll do it for us tonight, chat. Like I said, we'll be back later in the week, so stay tuned.